agency. You know, you go the Masters and the draft, and then the players hit. It's like the next big thing after like the Super Bowl to Daytona, from a cluster of events, is the draft right into the Players Championship, and then it goes like right into rookie minicamp and OTAs, and there's just a lot of stuff. Well, this thing just isn't ending. My one long day that I call football season that starts in late July, the day still isn't over. I mean, it just won't stop, but it's awesome too. There's so much going on.
Yeah.
But to that point, like I don't feel like I'm fully ready for the Players' Champ. I'm glad it's here. It's awesome to be here. Just not fully mentally ready, and also I need a tan because
man.
I'm a little white and I'm a little chubby. Like I'm usually in better shape by May.
Get you some of that vitamin D in you, man.
Yeah,
it's all good. Well, yeah. Well, you know me, man. I have my maple syrupy brown skin, so it's just glistening in the sun right now, just sticking out. So. Yeah, man, this is this is my first go around with you guys, so I'm not used to it, like you would say. But there's something about, you know, like I remember coming to Sawgrass, and like it was, I think Mother's Day would fall on that Sunday, right?
Yep,
so like, you know, there's something about being that and everything. So it is a little different for me. And plus it's like daylight savings time too, so my internal clock is a little messed up off that as well. Go. So
actually, speaking of that, we either forgot to set the alarm this morning or something, because I feel like somebody's calling my name.
Is
somebody
probably Tiger.
calling my name?
I think so.
Is that
yeah.
Tiger?
It sounded like Tiger's voice.
Love you, Tiger.
Yeah. Sorry. Busy.
Sorry, we got distracted there.
Mm-hmm.
But so yesterday, you know, the clocks go forward Saturday night. We're at a baseball tournament. We wake up in time. But I was like, Steph, somebody's going to sleep late. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think somebody forgot. Like somebody doesn't use their phone alarm. And the phone automatically switches on daylight savings, but obviously your other clocks don't, including the car usually doesn't switch.
Yep.
But not that you're sleeping in your car and you need that as an alarm clock, but just giving an example.
Yep.
And so we wake up fine yesterday. Well, how about today? Either we are just dead tired, or we get up at 8:30, and it's one of those Home Alone moments. I mean, it's like, Kelvin!
Yeah.
I mean, my wife and I like both jumped out of bed, because I jump out of bed just because she's like going nuts. You can't believe that it's 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
The kids are sound asleep. Now, meanwhile, they're supposed to be at school at 8:30.
Oh,
this is bad parenting today.
Ooh.
And not only that, Ty has a test first period.
Oh man, you set him up for failure, Brent.
And Kaylee, she's headed to Washington D.C. tomorrow night with her 8th grade class, but
that's a nice trip.
But she has a test tomorrow, and she's got math class first period, so she's got to get to class before. So we were a mess today. Parenting, I mean, my wife 3 hours later still wasn't over it. I haven't talked to her since, but I guarantee you she's still not over it. She's still upset by the whole situation today. Meanwhile, I'm so used to being late that it doesn't really bother me much. But all right, back to some football talk here on ESPN 690. Thanks for tuning in on a Monday. I hope you had a good weekend, everybody. It is, before I do one more note, fight week for you.
It is fight week.
Fired up Saturday night. Get out to the Morocco Shrine.
Absolutely, Morocco Shrine. You know, if you guys can come to Sawgrass during the day, and then you can have some cool beverages at night at the Morocco Shrine. Yeah, as far as fired up, I'm very fired up. You know, it's kind of a weird week, because you talk about fight week. You know, it's like the calm before the storm. Obviously, all the work's been put in already. When I say work, all the physical work, obviously.
Yeah.
So this week it's more of just kind of like a run through, kind of like a dress rehearsal, they would say. We'll have like a few walkthroughs, things like that. But from a physicality standpoint, now it's just about recovering, getting myself back to 100%, which will be hard sitting in the sun for 3 hours. Just kidding. It's all good. But
drink a lot of water.
No, exactly. So now it's just about more like, mentally going through the game plan, seeing it in my mind and everything like that. So, I'm excited. It's just obviously you're anxious now because you're ready to get in the cage and everything like that. So it's just playing that waiting game, which is the worst game to play, but I'm excited, man.
Yeah, and it's been a while. I mean, when was the last fight?
It's been November? 4 or 5 months. It's been 5 months. November.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, say you do well in this fight. When will your how much spaced out will they be? Is it every couple of months?
I mean, everyone's different. Obviously, health is a major thing, and that includes health in a fight, but health in training camp as well. So, assuming I stay healthy, I plan on winning, obviously. So, if I could get 5 fights in a year, that'd be that you're doing really good. That means you're staying healthy and you're winning your events.
Well, and then by that time, as the official ice guy, at least in spirit, I'll probably plan to be undefeated, and I'll be well versed at my role by then. So
For
I
sure.
figure by this time next year, I'll be pretty good at it.
Money.
You might have to pay me a lot more to keep me.
Well, as long as you don't get Drew Rosenhaus or whatever, man, I think we'll be all right.
By the way, did Drew Rosenhaus just we'll talk about your fight all week because I'm
Sure,
interested in how you get ready for it.
Yeah,
But Saturday night, Morocco Shrine,
Yeah.
Doors open and the card starts around 4 o'clock, right? 4 or 5
Yeah,
o'clock?
yeah. So I mean, it's a stacked card. It's going to feature amateur. There's going to be kickboxing as well, and then pro MMA obviously closing it out. So it'll probably start like around 5:30. I think I'm the co-main event, if not the main event. So I probably won't be going on to 8:30, but I encourage everybody to get there early, obviously, because it's going to sell out.
It will sell out.
Yeah, it'll sell out.
Awesome. Good for you. Can't wait for it. Looking forward to it. Just another thing going on this week.
Yeah, man, for sure. Just put it to the list.
Get the weigh-in on Friday, too.
Yeah.
But so you mentioned Rosenhaus. I was thinking of this. Did Drew Rosenhaus just make, like, the best move of his career? I mean, this guy's obviously insanely famous for being an agent.
Yeah.
I don't know how you rank agents. Is he one of the best of all time? Is he just loud? Is people know? I mean, I don't know how. He's a character, right?
He's a character
in the game.
But hey, at the end of the day, money speaks for itself. And when it comes to his money that he's made, he's probably top right now.
Yeah, and I just was thinking, I was like, wow, this one he might be saying today, that might be the best one I've done yet.
Might outdid himself. For
I mean,
sure.
so I feel like that has this feel to it. What do you make of the whole Antonio Brown?
Listen, I'm going to come clean quick. Tell like it is. So with Antonio Brown, I sat in our studio and I said, Antonio, like, what are you doing? You're throwing your teammates underneath the bus. You're coming off kind of kind of arrogant and cocky, and you attack the quarterback, you attack the coaching staff of the Steelers, you attack the culture, you attack the GM, you attack everybody. And and I was one of those guys that were saying, like, dude, you got to act right because teams aren't going to want to bring you on. And I thought, I thought that was me. But listen, when you're talking about, and I've said it before, Brent, free thinkers, guys that think outside the box, guys that are different lines of thinking. Usually the NFL shuns those kind of guys. So I was on that bandwagon and everything. Well, all of a sudden, here come the Oakland Raiders come calling, and he's going to be making $12 million more than his original contract with the Steelers. And get this, he also gets an extra $30 million. So what does that tell me? It tells me that here's a guy, Antonio Brown, who believed in himself. He believed in his abilities. He was on record saying, any team that's going to get me is going to play by my rules. Well, guess what? The Oakland Raiders are playing by Antonio Brown's rules right now, and it's all because he believed in himself. So from this going forward, if I'm a GM, if I'm an owner, I'm a little nervous because all of a sudden AJ Green's going to see this, Tyreek Hill's going to see this, Julio Jones going to see this, and they're going to be like, interesting.
He just made the receivers a ton of money.
Well, I think he made everybody a ton of money because we talked about, before too, with Jalen Ramsey's contract coming up as well. Listen, with Jalen Ramsey, you can argue his speed, his recovery, whatever, but Jalen Ramsey's best attribute, in my opinion, is his self-belief. It's his mindset. It's his confidence. It's not cockiness. It's confidence, because confidence comes from hard work and perfecting your craft. So he's not cocky. He's confident. And you got someone like Jalen, who could take the Antonio Brown route and be like, listen, I'm the best corner in the league. You all better pay me. It could be kind of like a nightmare scenario for the Jaguars here in the next couple of years.
Yeah, things. We're going to talk about that because what I want to talk about Antonio Brown is how his move impacts the NFL. There's a lot of people we're getting ready for a work stoppage potentially, a battle between the NFLPA and owners. And there's so many people, especially players, that believe the owners make so much money and they don't share the wealth all the time with the players. Now, listen. This is such a hard thing to do from a public perception standpoint if you're a player, and you know this, because it's a lot of money already. So it's really hard to tell me that, well, you had a contract for $30 million, but you really deserved $50 million, and for me to feel bad for you is a hard thing, right? That's what the average guy says.
Yep.
It's like, I get it from a business structure standpoint. If you're making a movie and you're worth $100 million, you're only getting $80 million, well, you're worth $100 million. Like, I understand that. Who knows what everybody's worth is, but the dollars are so astronomical that it's really hard for people to relate or feel bad for the player. And I think from a public perception standpoint, the owners have always won out in that right, because they're not flaunting around what they're making annually, But players' salaries are flaunted around and shown around and very public. And you're seeing dollars fly all over the place today. So my point is, was this a good thing for the players as you potentially head into some labor strife and some issues in the next year, year and a half, 2 years? And also, where does a player like Jalen Ramsey now sit? I think it's totally different, by the way. We'll get a guy like Ramsey or Yannick Ngakoue or somebody. Keep in mind, Antonio Brown was 31 years old when he did this. That's different than a player that's young. And we'll get into that conversation a bit later. Things are happening. Trey Flowers said to be going to the Detroit Lions. Landon Collins said to be going to the Washington Redskins. What are the Jags doing? Where's Nick Foles? Is he in Jacksonville? The latest rumor mill. Coming up next on ESPN 690, live from TPC Sawgrass at the Players' Championship.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the free agent carousel continues to spin in the NFL. The league year doesn't officially begin until Wednesday at 4, but we're already reporting a few moves with big impact around the league. We start with the Raiders, who continue to spend, this time reportedly agreeing to pay left tackle Trent Brown $66 million over the next 4 years. If it happens, that'll make him the highest paid lineman in the league. Pretty much takes Oakland out of the running for Lev Bell, according to Chris Mortensen.
I do not expect him to be in the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes, even though many people disagree with that point of view. And I think it's because of the cash. They don't have $70 million in cash to spend. They have $7 million in cap space. That's different.
Other notable moves today, former Jags D lineman Malik Jackson will sign with the Eagles for 3 years at $10 million a year, and Danny Amendola signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Lions to take over as their slot receiver. And finally, the Bucs agreed to part ways with Deshaun Jackson. The team cut him after no trade market materialized for the disgruntled wideout. We're live 24/7 on your PC or phone. Just hit the Listen Live button anytime at ESPN690.com.
Built with the biggest names in sports, all on one radio station. Golick and Wingo, Dan Lebitard, Stephen A. Smith, and Action Sports Jack's Brent Martineau every afternoon. Plus, Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And major breaking news in sports when it happens. Make us your only button for sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. The all-new ESPN 690.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
Sports Center updates at the top and bottom of every hour. And the latest breaking news in sports around the clock. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Welcome back to TPC Sawgrass. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Justin Couzart. Couz back there pushing buttons. Couz, I already saw Nicole today. Just want to let you know.
That's more than I've seen her all week.
Yeah, she's doing her job. So she was driving somebody around. So she's getting after it. She works way harder than you, by the way. Just want to let you know.
Oh, I know, insanely harder. It's I yell at her sometimes.
Did you stay hydrated this weekend?
I did. Stayed very hydrated at a nice reggae Sunday visit.
All right. Any fights?
Nope, no fights this time.
All right, good.
Nice work.
Seems like they break out wherever you are, so just wanted to make sure. All right, we've got a lot to get to. Malik Jackson, by the way, going to the Eagles. We'll talk about it in a bit because what a landing spot for Malik, and he got paid again. Yep. So good for him after being a cap casualty of the Jags. But let's get back to the Foles stuff because that's front and center right now. And there's so much going on across the NFL, a lot to digest. The latest on Foles, there were rumors over the weekend that he was at like the Hyatt, right? And then there was something else I think somebody else had from his wife. She put like the river was on social, like a waterway or something on social media. And it's like, are they just messing around? Are people really seeing them? You know, a lot of times what happens in these big free agent deals, like Malik Jackson didn't take a visit to Philadelphia. Name your guy. Trey Flowers. He's not taking a visit to Detroit.
No.
Whoever's going wherever, they're not taking visits. You do it sight unseen, conversations, blah, blah, blah. This one might be different. This one could be different because Nick Foles knows he's only got Jacksonville, and if you want to throw Miami in there, or if there's some mystery team nobody's talking about. So he doesn't need to be in a rush, and neither do the Jaguars, really. So it sounds like there were some reports coming out that Foles may want to visit Jacksonville before actually signing. And that's not a bad idea on his side of things if he wants to do that.
Careful, Brent. You said there are no rush. If I'm the Jaguars, I'm in a rush because as soon as if Foles does come here and we sign him, the Jaguars sign him, then listen, then other pieces start to fall in place. If we don't have Foles locked up, well then he's still priority number one. The quarterback is the top priority right now. So, obviously we can sign some other guys, maybe like an offensive guard. We can go to the receiver route, but Foles has to be the top priority, or the quarterback has to be the top priority. So, to say, well, let's just be casual about it and let's take our time, we really can't afford to do that because as soon as Foles is in place or whoever else it is, we got to sign him to the deal. And then from there, then you can say, well, okay, they sign him for maybe $20 million. Well, we have this much cap space to work with because we don't know how much we have right now because we haven't signed Foles yet. So
yeah, well, I like you. I think your point is a good one.
Yeah,
but do keep this in mind. Unlike previous years, the Jaguars are not major players in a lot of free agents.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting in the mix for the Trey Flowers of the world and Le'Veon Bells of the world, and obviously, Nick Foles is their guy, or a quarterback is their end game. Mm-hmm. And then you might throw in a Golden Tate or someone, but I break it down like this. A-list guys, I'll put Golden Tate in an A-list category, even though I think that's questionable. But the Le'Veon Bells of the world, even a Tevin Coleman potentially in terms of how much the dollars are, could be an A-list signing. Those usually happen within the first 36, 48 hours, maybe 72, but I would say usually, really it's the first 12 hours of free agency is when all that stuff happens. Then the B-list guys are a few days later often. And I think that's where the Jags are headed. So I think they have some time is my point. I mean, they've got to make the right deal. And Nick Foles, this is really on Nick Foles. I don't think the Jags are saying, hey, we would like to meet you and see what you're all about. This is more Nick Foles. He wants to see what it's like if this is right. I mean, this is just one of the reports. Now, the other thing, Mike Silver, who at times can be very connected with the Jacksonville Jaguars, works for NFL Network, he said he expects a multi-year deal, or that could, this is one of those expects could type of things, by later tonight, be hammered out multi-year deal. And he's throwing around numbers like $21, $22 million. And I'm like, whoa, that seems too pricey for me. I don't know how you feel about it. Again, I'm a big believer, by the way, everybody out there, that it's not my money. I don't care what you pay people. It's not my dollars. They have to deal with that. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying I'll be a little surprised because Foles, the guy who has very little leverage, getting a $22 million deal in this kind of market, seems like you're overpaying, but keep in mind you always overpay in free agency.
You always do overpay in free agency, but at the same time, it's like you said, there is no demand for Nick Foles right now. So to sit here and say, yeah, I'll pay Nick Foles $22 million is just, to me, it's not good business. Now, I'm not saying you lowball him either. I mean, I think that honey hole, that great range would be anywhere from 17 million to 20 million, and 20 million would be my limit. You don't want to offend somebody, I mean, it's kind of nature business.
Not a good way to get off to. You don't want it to be a rocky start, a contentious start.
It's not like you're going to call Nick Foles and be like, hey, we want you to be the future quarterback here for $15 million. Please don't be offended. Like there obviously is some business negotiations going on too, but man, when you start talking that $22 million range, it's that's obviously good for Foles. And it's funny, I guess we're sitting here and we're talking about like a couple $1 million, like $2 million. Is it really that big a deal? At the end of the day, maybe it could be, because that could be the result of maybe another key accusation from the free agency, from maybe like a guard or a receiver that we may not be able to make just because Foles want a little more money.
Yeah, well, listen, I get it. I just feel like I don't care what they spend. I really don't. If you like your guy, go get your guy. It's like drop top 10 pick. You know what? The guy might be valued at 14 or 15, but if you like your guy that much, you go get him at 8. Well, you like them, so you go get him. And sometimes you overpay for something you want. You got a nice pair of jeans? Sometimes you overpay. And sometimes you wear those jeans for a long time and you get the value out of it. I mean, it's no different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no different. If they feel like this is the guy, if they believe in him, if they think he can change this organization, lift this organization even more. Again, I don't care if it's 21 or 22. I just would be a little surprised because you have other options. Like, you have to ask yourself, where's the cutoff? And I've said all along, I think John DeFilippo will help them decide that. Where's the cutoff? And I think you also have to ask yourself, how much better of a quarterback are we getting than, first of all, the one we have, and secondly, the other ones that are out there, to pay this much of a difference. One last thought from me on the actual Foles contract, and it's I think I've said it enough, but we've all kind of wondered what the deal could be. I still believe, Austin, this deal will be more like 4 years, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's like a 5-year deal. And the reason I say that is the spreading out of the dollars. I don't believe they want to spend $22 million this year on Foles to go along with the $6.5 for Blake, which now puts your actual cash number somewhere around $28, $29 million for the quarterback spot this year. I think they're going to try to avoid that. The one way to avoid that is to lengthen the contract, spread out the guaranteed money, and give him more stability potentially in Jacksonville. So a lot of people guessing 3-year deals. I'm not. I'm off the 3 number. I think it's more like 4. I wouldn't even be stunned at 5 in my own mind. This is not information I've heard. It's just more, I think it's going to be longer than people are anticipating. But listen, I'm not a money guy.
Yeah.
These contracts are crafty sometimes, and they're strange sometimes. I think the one thing the Jags do is often make pretty good business decisions from a contract standpoint. They might not always make good football decisions. That's obviously up for debate. But I do think the way they craft their contracts usually are pretty good. So bottom line is, tonight, tomorrow we do the show. Mm-hmm. Nick Foles here.
Yes.
We still believe that.
Yeah, I truly believe that. Just like, listen, I've played this scenario over in my head a million times, and I can't see him going anywhere else. I don't see him going to the Dolphins. I don't see him going to the Giants. Don't see him going to the Redskins. No other team really needs a starting quarterback right now. The only logical thing is the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, and here's the deal. What if the Jags swing and miss here, or they don't want to pay that much? What happens to Nick Foles if he doesn't come to Jacksonville? Where's he going? I mean, is he signing a mid-level deal with the Dolphins? Does somebody else swoop in and be like, whoa, we can get that guy for pretty good value, so we'll pay this much amount of money? I brought up Arizona the other day. You know, if they don't love Rosen, they're still not paying a ton for that spot. They could afford a guy like that. Boy, wouldn't that be something? What a twist that would be if it falls apart with Jacksonville. Where's the landing spot?
Well, one would think, though, if it doesn't work out with Rosen, obviously they would go the Kyler Murray route, especially with the
yeah, absolutely.
Kingsbury coming in. So I don't see Foles going to Arizona. You know, it's I said this last week. It's like Richard Gere, man, and what's the movie called again? Where he's like, I have nowhere else to go.
You're not asking me to fill in the blank.
Sorry about
movies.
that,
Sorry.
but I mean, it's literally what it is right now. So I think, you know, I mean, from the Jaguars' perspective, we hold the advantage where we know you don't want to go anywhere else. You want to come to Jacksonville. Your old coach is here. No other place is really, standing out. So let's offer you a fair deal. Let's give you $20 million, and let's go from there. If I was the GM, that's what I would be targeting. And say he wants over $20 million, and be like, well, all right, if you want over $20 million, well, then good luck with everything. I hope you catch on someplace else, but we're going to move on and see who flinches first. My money would be on that. Foles would flinch for sure because I feel like Jacksonville is the spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think – I mean, you want to go lead a team? Yeah. And that's why I think this – I'd be surprised if this is $21, $22 million. They don't have to pay that. Mm-hmm. I mean, back to my jeans analogy, it's like the store next door selling the same pair of jeans for $20 less. I mean, you don't have to buy them right here. You walk next door and you buy it for that. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine them spending that much money. I think, again, remember these numbers, all this kind of stuff gets agent driven. Now that being said, Landon Collins just got paid 6 years, $84 million, $45 million guaranteed. So salaries
Get
are
that
up.
money.
I mean, the money is out there. And the Raiders are spending it, and Malik Jackson is earning it. I want to talk about both those scenarios and what it means for Malik, but also what it means for the NFL when it comes to the Raiders. Coming up next on ESPN 690, live from the Players' Championship, TPC Sawgrass. It's legal tampering time in the NFL.
Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690 gets you close to the action.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau, and it's Action Sports Jacks on the road on ESPN 690, live from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis.
With the Rams cheerleaders here in Atlanta, you guys gonna go to the aquarium or anything?
Live from the Super Bowl in Atlanta.
With John Franklin Myers, the former Stephen F. Austin Lumberjack, going from Orange 40 man to the Super Bowl, man. I'm proud of you.
Live from Daytona International Speedway at the Daytona 500.
This is ESPN 690.
It's hard to beat that new car smell, especially when it's a brand new Hyundai. Hey everybody, it's Brent Martineau of Action Sports Jacks, and I think we could all agree there's something to that new car smell you just can't beat. You also can't beat the exceptional service at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. It's a brand new dealership here in town, and my friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville live by giving you the most superb car buying experience you can get. No one likes to be haggled or pressured when buying a car. The staff at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville understands this and emphasizes their no-risk, no-pressure approach. They'll help you find the right car for you at the right price. And if you are not 100% satisfied with your new car, you can bring it back to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville within the first 7 days for your money back. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with the limited lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States. Schedule a test drive at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com and make sure you tell them Brent Martineau sent you.
The following message is sponsored by the Florida Department of Elder Affairs, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Sarah is 64 and loves to garden. Recently, her health insurance ran out, leaving her worried about more than just weeds. She called the Elder Helpline and spoke with a volunteer Shine counselor about her options. There, she received free, unbiased counseling on health insurance for those on Medicare. For more information or to volunteer, call 1-800-963-5337 or go to floridashine.org.
Hey everybody, this is Brent Martineau, and if you're looking for something to do for dinner tonight, I've got an idea. Family owned in Jacksonville for more than 40 years, fresh ingredients every day. That's what Renna's Pizza was built on, and that's what Renna's Pizza delivers. A menu to satisfy the entire family tonight. Fantastic pizza, fresh salad, and Italian favorites like lasagna. There's a Renna's Pizza near you. Marsh Landing, Bay Meadows, Argyle Forest, San Jose, and the newest location in Neptune Beach. Be a part of the family and get dinner tonight at Renna's Pizza.
From the NBA to the NFL, we've got you covered. The worldwide leader in sports. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
We're just trying to keep up with all the moves.
Man.
Moving and shaking. Here on a Monday, legal tampering, NFL free agency is underway. You know, I talked to Tom Coughlin on Friday night. Tom Coughlin, J-Fun, Wine Gala. And he insinuated, too, the same thing that I had kind of mentioned last week or coming out of the Combine. It's hard for these guys to do their jobs at times in this week from between the Combine and when the league year starts. That 10-day period, 10, 12 days, with all these reports flying and kind of agents playing the game and buildings trying to keep really quiet, it's a challenge. And Tom Coughlin kind of brought that up a little bit with us. That being said, he didn't really give us a lot of insight on what they're doing. We got the whiteboard out here at TPC Sawgrass. Food breakdown. Sawgrass spread is better than Super Bowl spread.
It's not even close.
It's pretty good in the media center, isn't it?
Well, I didn't know that was an option, Brent. I brought my, my lame and boring ground beef and sweet potatoes, and Brent comes out with a nice ahi tuna and some sesame salad and stuff going on over here.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if it would be open today. Monday's kind of a quieter day and not open to the public to check out the golfers and all that. So it's pretty quiet, but they actually do have a little bit of a party tonight on the lawn of the clubhouse. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to stay and do TV and then go party for a couple minutes. Cool. Really just grab a little bit more free food. Mm-hmm. But they do a great job here. They treat the media well. And there's a ton of media. Like, all the international partners for the Players' Championship are here. There is a ton of international media, and I've said that countless times now, how much this is an international event, and you'll see it this week in terms of the representation of the media and the fans, but the media especially.
So when I got here, I went in the wrong building. Where I went in the media building. I thought that's where we were shooting at today, and we ended up being outside here, thankfully. But I went in the media building, and literally I walked in. It's like the record just kind of skipped for a second because there's 100 people in there wondering like, who the heck I am. But you can kind of see like there's people from all around. I mean, different languages. I heard speaking and everything. So this is definitely a big deal. It's definitely a worldwide event here we got going on.
Well, and golf is so international now. It always has been, I think, but it's so international. So anyway, there's a lot going on. Trey Flowers signing with the Lions, and we'll keep an update on everybody. We're going to talk Malik Jackson and the Raiders in just a moment, but we hear Gary's on the line. So let's go to the phones right now on ESPN 690. Gary, what's up? Happy Monday, man.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Yeah, I heard you media guys eat like kings out there at these events.
We do. That's why most of us are a little chubby.
I hear you. Hey, anything on my Dolphins other than the tight end so far, guys?
I haven't seen a lot of Dolphin rumors yet. I think they're going to lay pretty low. In fact, I saw a story yesterday, I think it was, where it was someone out of South Florida that reported the Dolphins will be very quiet in the first stage of free agency, the one I was just talking about, where like the A-listers go in the first 12, 24, 36 hours. And then I heard the Dolphins will also be pretty quiet in the second stage of free agency. So even the mid-level guys, the B-listers, if you will, it doesn't sound like the Dolphins are going to be big spenders. So that's what I've heard.
We need some offensive linemen. Have they re-signed Juwan James and Xavier Howard?
Did they or will they?
Have they?
I don't believe they have. I haven't seen that yet, though. There's a lot of stuff flying.
They said they want to keep those two if possible. So.
Yeah, I would think they will try to, but again, how much money are they going to spend? And
I don't know. We need some guards like your Jaguars. We purge the guards.
So, I mean, from a guard perspective, a guy I really like a lot that unfortunately won't be playing for the Jaguars, I see, just because he primarily plays on the left side of the ball. A guy by the name of Mike Iupati from Arizona, a guy I played with the Senior Bowl with. When we talk about toughness, just a mean dude. I mean, and don't get me wrong, like, off the field, he's a great guy, but on the field, plays with kind of that chip on his shoulder. He's from Idaho, a smaller school. He has that, like that old school mentality and whatnot. A guy with Arizona who was really the kind of the backbone in that running game when David Johnson was really picking up and everything like that.
What would that cost him, Austin? About 10 to 12?
No, so here's the thing about Iupati. He's coming off an injury. I think he only played a couple games last season. He has a couple injuries and everything like that. So I can honestly see a team bringing him in, maybe even like as a backup role or maybe a starting role, but it's going to be a prove-it deal. So as far from a prove-it deal, I could see maybe like a 1 year, maybe $6 million at the very most. So it's definitely a guy you want to keep an eye on. I foresee him actually going to Tampa Bay because obviously that's where Arians is at right now in Tampa Bay. So I could see him and Mike Iupati kind of reconnecting, as they would say.
And C.J. Mosley hasn't signed yet, right?
No, it's going to be a big one.
But that's going to be a giant one.
And by the way, here's the latest on the Dolphins. Gary, as you listen in the car or wherever you're listening, and we hang up with you, some Dolphins word, at least on the social media channels, is they'll keep Kenny Stills. They're not going to release him. Obviously, Danny Amendola's gone. And they were in the Trey Flowers mix, apparently, according to some. Jason La Canfora says. They signed Dwayne Allen. You brought that up, and you knew about that. But if they were in the Trey Flowers mix, well, then they might go after some more defensive players in the free agency. I think that would have surprised some people if they had spent that kind of money on Trey Flowers. So we'll see what happens there, but that's the latest on the Miami Dolphins. I want to talk about Malik Jackson real quick. What a landing spot, right?
Yeah.
3 years, $10 million per, for a guy who signed a 6-year, almost $90 million deal a few years back with the Jaguars. I mean, I love seeing that, by the way. I love seeing a guy who was a 5th-round pick out of Tennessee go make it big in Denver, go help win a Super Bowl, go get a big contract, go help this team go to a place like the AFC Championship where they hadn't been in so long. And now, because he's a cap casualty, and that's just the business part of it, still has some good football left, and now the Eagles take a chance on him, sign him to a pretty good deal. and he'll play with the Philadelphia Eagles. But I was thinking of this, Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the defensive fronts he's played with. I mean, he played with that front that won the Super Bowl in Denver, the Von Millers, the Wolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Knighton wasn't on that Super Bowl team, was he?
No, I think he was on the next one, right? That went
or maybe prior to.
Yeah.
They went through a couple-year run. Knighton was on one of them, but I don't think he was on the Super Bowl one.
No, I don't think so either.
He might have been on the Super Bowl one where they lost to Seattle.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
And but anyway, so think about that defensive line. They became the defensive line, the defensive line that the Jags wanted to emulate. Well, guess what? The Jags pretty much emulated it. They go to the AFC Championship game. Now he lands with a team like Philly, who's been ultra successful the last couple of years, and their front, he's going to play next to Fletcher Cox. I mean, pretty good stuff.
Well, and here, there's a reason why so many free agents go to the Eagles to play defensive line. I'm talking about Chris Long. Michael Bennett went there, on a free agent deal. And now we're talking about Malik Jackson. It's because Schwartz's defense is so fun to play in it. I ended up playing
Why?
it. Why? Oh, I'll tell you why. So and it's the same as it was in Detroit. So Schwartz's whole philosophy is the fact that you stop the run on the way to the quarterback. So what does that mean? Basically, traditionally he's going to have 2 wide nines. So imagine defensive ends as wide as possible, and you pin your ears back and you just go. You don't react, you just go. And from a defensive line perspective, that's the most fun system to play in because all of a sudden you're not thinking so much. It's more about creating chaos. It's more about, from a scheme perspective, it's not that complicated, but you're playing so fast, you're getting off the ball where sometimes the offensive line can't handle that. So from a perspective where you can just, you don't have to think so much, you can just go and play, that's like a defensive lineman's dream. So you were talking about Malik Jackson going into that system where, his pass rushing is going to shine through, where his get-off's going to shine through. I feel like it's going to be a great setup for him.
Yeah, I would think so too. And so good for Malik Jackson getting to do that. What about I want to spend a minute or two on the Antonio Brown, but also the Trent Brown and what the Raiders did. Do you like what the Raiders have done? Do you like what Mike Mayock has done? My original thought, though, Austin, is John Gruden got just crushed all last year. Like, you don't know what he's doing. What is he doing? He's getting rid of Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper. Well, if they get a pass rusher top 5 in the draft, and I know it's an if, but if this guy's good, he might not even be as good as Khalil Mack. That would be asking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe they haven't done so bad.
Yeah. I mean, what it reminds me of right now is like, from a movie like Richie Rich when he fight, not Richie Rich, I'm sorry, Blank Check. When he gets the blank check or whatever and he's buying everything, he's like in the candy stores just buying whatever he wants. That's what like Mayock's like right now. I mean, there's the montage going on. He's like, yeah, let's take Antonio Brown. Let's get another offensive lineman. And now there's been on record saying they can't afford Bell or whatever to come play running back. Pump your brakes a little bit. I think they can. Let's not say no.
Hard cash.
Yeah.
Davis is always, even last year, that was part of the Khalil Mack thing, is that they didn't know if they had enough cold hard cash. Like the owners have to come up with that to be able to do it because of this move to Vegas and everything else. So I mean, I think there is something real about that, and they could spend to a degree. But again, Antonio Brown or Amari Cooper, from a football perspective, I'll take Antonio Brown. Right?
I will right now too as well. Yes.
And you go get a left tackle. Derek Carr has to be smiling. I don't know what else they do in the backfield or on offense, but they're going defense now. I would think on from a pass rushing standpoint to fill Khalil Mack. Their plan at the outset seemed ridiculous, but I'm not sure it was so much ridiculous.
Well, I don't know. They have like 20 first-round draft picks the next couple of years.
Well,
too. It's so
they
ridiculous.
They didn't give up any first-round pick.
Yeah.
Like, the Steelers lost, right? Do you view this as the Steelers lost, the Raiders will see, and Antonio Brown the big winner?
Yeah. I mean, you have to, right? Like, I think the word in the street, and we even discussed it too, is if the Jaguars wanted Antonio Brown, it's going to be a first-round pick. It's just the way it's going to be. And guess what? That wasn't the case at all. It was a third-round pick, if I'm not mistaken. So
it was third and a fifth.
Yeah, third and a fifth. We gave a fifth away for Carlos Hyde. So it's crazy how that works out. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody foresaw it was going to be that cheap. And then on top of it, then, they restructured the deal. So from that case, I almost feel like the Raiders, I don't want to say they got taken to school a little bit, but I mean, to give them that much more guaranteed money and whatnot, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, here's the deal. Again, if you have money, money's money.
Yeah.
They're not going to be up against the cap situation. That's fine. I mean, the cold hard cash is one thing, but from a cap standpoint, they're fine. And so who cares how much they spend on it? Now, what I said is, how I felt. I wanted the Jags to at least – if I told you 2 weeks ago you could have Antonio Brown for a third and a fifth, would you have jumped on board with me?
I probably would have been on the wagon as well.
Yeah.
I think anybody would have been.
So from that standpoint, that's where I was coming from. This is not going to be super expensive, but I would have never given him the deal they just gave him. I would have never given him this $50 million, $30 million guaranteed. Just wouldn't have done it. I think that's silly at his age and with his antics. I don't trust him enough to do that. Hey, more to come from the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass on ESPN 690.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the free agent carousel continues to spin in the NFL. The league year doesn't officially begin until Wednesday at 4, but we're already reporting a few moves with big impact around the league. We start with the Raiders, who continue to spend, this time reportedly agreeing to pay left tackle Trent Brown $66 million over the next 4 years. If it happens, that'll make him the highest paid lineman in the league. Pretty much takes Oakland out of the running for Lev Bell, according to Chris Mortensen.
I do not expect him to be in the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes, even though many people disagree with that point of view. And I think it's because of the cash. They don't have $70 million in cash to spend. They have $7 million in cap space. That's different.
Other notable moves today, former Jags D lineman Malik Jackson will sign with the Eagles for 3 years at $10 million a year, and Danny Amendola signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Lions to take over as their slot receiver. And finally, the Bucs agree to part ways with Deshaun Jackson. The team cut him after no trade market materialized for the disgruntled wideout. We're live 24/7 on your PC or phone. Just hit the Listen Live button anytime at ESPN690.com.
And now, a quick comparison from Grasshopper. When you're always on the go, what would you prefer? An office phone system?
Hey, it's Rochelle. Sorry I missed you earlier. Had an errand to run, but I'm back in the office, so give me a call when you get this.
Or one that works on your cell phone? No hardware needed, courtesy of Grasshopper.
Oh, one sec. It's a business call. Hi, this is Rochelle with Way Forward Partners. How can I help?
There's no contest. Put your best voice forward with Grasshopper, the virtual phone system for small business. Try it free at grasshopper.com.
Pros know getting the next job means doing this one right. Lowe's is here to help with brands you need to power through any job. Like Hitachi, soon to be known as Metabo HPT. New name, same tools, same warranty. Stop in today and save up to 25% off select Hitachi tools. And save yourself some time. Order ahead at lowesforpros.com and pick up your order in store. For tools you can trust to get the job done right. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offer valid through 3/17. See store for details, U.S. only.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anna Jar and Levine studios. Anna Jar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690, Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. The Redskins set to add one of the top safeties in the NFL following his release from the NFC East rival Giants. Landon Collins told ESPN's Josina Anderson he'll sign with Washington 6 years, $84 million, $45 million guaranteed. Two former Patriots have found new homes. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports defensive end Trey Flowers intends to sign with the Lions. Offensive tackle Trent Brown intends to sign with the Raiders 4 years, $66 million. One of the top free agents still available, running back Le'Veon Bell, seeking a windfall in his next deal, but he could have a problem getting that, explains Adam Schefter.
He plays a position that typically does not get paid overly well, and there doesn't seem to be a team out there with a screaming need. I know people talk about the Jets being the favorites, but I don't think that the building is in universal agreement that they'd want him there at that price. Listen, he passed up $14+ million a year last year, so you know what he's looking for. He's looking for a huge payday.
Bell sat out all of last season after not being able to agree to a deal with the Steelers.
Discover Card alerts you if they find your Social Security number on any one of thousands of risky websites. It's free for card members. Just sign up online at discover.com/free alerts. Limitations apply.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anna Jar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Oh, there are a few places in Northeast Florida. Better than this one at TPC Sawgrass to celebrate a little happy hour horn on a Monday.
Grab a drink, get a Pedialyte, and tip your Star Tenders.
Yeah, you need
It's
it,
one of
right?
those Pedialyte kind of days.
You got to get the electrolytes back into you.
Got to get the little. Yeah, those are important, Brent. And hey, I'm not going to knock Gatorade or anything like that. But if you're talking from a hydration standpoint, Pedialyte's the way to go.
There we go.
And I'm not getting paid for that either.
Especially it's fight week.
It is fight week too, so
Definitely.
extra Pedialyte for that.
Sunglasses are the way to go too. But it is warm here at TPC Sawgrass. I will say that.
Hotter than a pistol.
And we are right out in it, which I love. Welcome back, though, everybody, on ESPN 690. Brent Martineau, Austin Lane, Coos back home, pushing all the right buttons. Hopefully he'll get out here at some point. You got some plans to get out to the players?
I want to, but it's looking like I might not be able to get there till Saturday.
Okay. Well, they still play on Saturday.
Yeah, I know. That'll be the real packed day, you know?
Yeah. Why can't you get, by the way, why can't you come like earlier in the morning? I mean, what do? You sleep till like 11, don't you?
All right. Yeah, I guess I could come in the morning like Thursday and Tuesday. I got to hit the gym on Wednesday and Friday, though.
Yeah, okay. But so Thursday, come walk around. You can walk like 10 miles out here.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I could, make it down there, deal with the traffic, make sure I leave in time to get back here, though.
Yeah, well, that is true. Going the other way, you won't have a problem. Getting in, you better get here pretty early, of course.
Hey, Coos, are you sponsored by Pollo Tropico now, or what was up with that video on Friday?
Oh, you like that, huh? That's the little perks of being stuck in back at the
love
building.
It. Love it when I'm stuck in Sawgrass and I see you grubbing on Pollo Tropico. Can't get enough of it.
What was that, like a drop off at the radio station?
Yeah, they swung by, hooked us up. Me and Nick went to town.
You haven't seen his video that he posted?
I saw the video. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cheeky.
Yeah,
pretty funny.
I didn't see anything from you or Nick. Said, hey, Brent, I know you're working till midnight tonight on TV. I'll save you some if you want the fridge.
You gotta take that one up with the boss man.
All right, we'll do that. Welcome back, everybody. Here we are live at the Players Championship. We'll talk some golf in a little bit. We also have some sound from Dan Mullen today, who was on the podium. Florida State started up their spring practice last week with Willie Taggart. Dan Mullen and the Florida Gators get going tomorrow. So, there's nothing else going on this week, so you might as well start some Gator spring practice as well.
Let's get it.
I mean, we got everything going on. You know what? Couple of ancillary things happening. I mean, Saturday night Daytona Supercross was a good event. Had a lot of comments, by the way, on Ricky Carmichael, and people enjoyed that interview and your knowledge of it, by the way. So you can always check that out on the podcast, Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690. We did that early in the show on Friday. Also had Marcel Darius on and Josh Lambdo on the show on Friday. But along with the players, the NFL free agency stuff, of course. I just mentioned the Gators spring ball, and we got a lot of high school baseball and college baseball going on, but those will happen for the next couple weeks and months. There's also a big event, in the area. People love this event. Is the Gator Nationals in Gainesville drag racing, and that draws a big crowd, and that's happening toward the end of the weekend. So you got that going on. There is just a lot happening right now. I mean, it's a fun time. If you like sports and a variety of sports, and I didn't even mention the NCAA tournament, which we'll get into a little bit later, but all the teams on the bubble, ACC tournament, SEC tournament, and a week from yesterday will be the selection show where the whole field gets announced, and then a week from, Thursday will be downtown Jacksonville watching some hoop games.
Shout out to the Gator Nationals. You actually brought that up. I think I might have shared this story a little bit, but I had the opportunity to go watch the Gator Nationals and sit with Ron Capps, who was the driver of the Napa. I think it's the funny car they call it. It's like the fast ones that they drive. Yeah. So I had the opportunity to go sit in his pit and actually stand right behind him when he took off in his race. And from someone who has never been to a drag racing event before, who hasn't been to a lot of racing events, being behind that car and just seeing the power and whatnot, man. I mean, it's definitely something where if you've never been to one of those things before, and you don't even be a race fan, you don't have to be a race fan at all, but just go for the experience, just to see what those cars are capable of, man, because it is wild.
Yeah, pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to get back to the NFL talk. I do want to finish up one thought on Antonio Brown and just the way that went down. Is it a game changer in the NFL?
Yes.
Is it? Are guys going to start doing this now? There was a lot of reaction on social media from players that said, good for Antonio Brown. He basically, the owners control everything. The league controls everything. Well, he just controlled his own way and got a raise out of it.
To be fair, though, players were also maybe, I don't want to say against him, but they also kind of questioned him a little bit, too. I mean, a classic example would be Larry Fitzgerald kind of said, like, he doesn't agree with what Antonio Brown's doing because with Ben Roethlisberger, obviously, he's always had a solid quarterback, and Larry Fitzgerald's played with, like, 13 different quarterbacks in his career. So Fitzgerald, came out and said a little bit that he's against Antonio Brown. But listen, what Antonio Brown did here is that he proved that the owners, the GMs, and the coaches do not have all the power that the players do. And sometimes we forget about that. I forgot about that. I was a guy that was, I don't want to say bad-mouthing Antonio Brown, but I was questioning some of his tactics. Now, for the future players that are going to be free agents, do you have to go out and do you have to badmouth the franchise? Do you have to badmouth the coach, badmouth the quarterback? I don't think so. I think that was taken to the very extreme. But at the same time, if he doesn't do that, then maybe he doesn't get released from Pittsburgh, and maybe he doesn't make that extra, $30 million. So I feel like Antonio Brown has definitely written a brand new blueprint of how to do things. And you don't have to be a free agent. If you're not happy in a market, the players now have the power.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because we talk about this in the NBA. Jimmy Butler did it.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And he did it. And there's something about it that I don't like. This is not me against the players either. I'm always saying, hey, players should get paid more. Make as much money.
You've been very adamant with that.
As you can. But if you sign a contract, and you got paid a lot of money. Now, there are ways for the organization to cut you loose as well, based on performance or business structure. Understood. So they have some power in that. And that's the problem with NFL contracts not being guaranteed. I think the players would have less of an argument if they would guarantee the contract.
Without a doubt.
Right? So that is different than some of the other sports. Antonio Brown put on a show, though. He didn't even play in the last week of the game when they needed to win. Week of the season when they needed to win. He was a problem in the locker rooms. I don't have a problem. Like, say Calais Campbell was in the situation. And he's like, I feel like I deserve more. The organization's not deserving more. I want to be traded. This is a guy that's done everything for the organization. It doesn't feel like the organization's treating him right. And then you go pull a move like this at that age of 32 years old because you got one more chance to make money. It would feel more right. There's something about the Antonio Brown saga played out on social media, all this stuff that just was like, all right, man. Like, I'm not sure I'm rooting for you to go get more money than you just had. You know what I mean?
I absolutely understand what you mean, but, history has always shown us that anytime there's been a major paradigm shift in, the way business gets done, there's always an outsider who goes against the grain, who thinks outside the box, and it's kind of considered crazy to start out with. And now, like I said, do I agree with Antonio Brown and how he threw, Ben Roethlisberger underneath the bus and everything? No, I don't think that's what should have been done at all. But at the same time, he achieved the desired results. And I get there's people in the media, there's people, just casual fans that are ticked off because he got an extra $30 million. He should have, played up to his contract and that's it. I understand that to an extent, but the owners, it's the same thing. Like, anytime a concession stand charges, $2 extra for a beer, or that they charge that the rates of food or ticket sales go up, guess what? The owners are getting paid even more. And you want to sit and complain, well, NFL players are getting too much money already? Go tell it to Zach Miller, who's, maybe never will play again. Go tell it to Alex Smith. Go tell it to anybody that's had a season or a career-ending injury and the fact that they don't get that money guaranteed. Okay, so from Antonio Brown's perspective, I'm happy for him because he believed in himself and it paid off. It paid off in spades, and now he's about to get paid even more. And I think he set the blueprint for what's going to be done in the future. Now, it's like you said, Brent. I think you can go with it a different way. You don't have to call it the team. You don't have to call it the fan base and whoever else it was that got called out. But at the same time, this whole Antonio Brown thing started, if I remember correctly, because a former player, or I'm sorry, I think it was a former equipment guy on the team called him out. And then it just kind of snowballed from there, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like, it wasn't Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I don't even remember the genesis of it.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it was something with an equipment manager or something that used to work for the team. Some player in the personnel, whether it was media. I vaguely
do remember that.
Yeah, called him out, and that snowballed from there.
Yeah, so it kind of got lit the fire. Yeah,
it did. Yeah.
But listen, And it's not going to happen all across the NFL because, again, people are saying, well, Jalen Ramsey's going to do this now. Well, he really can't. The team can control him through next year. The team can control him with a 5th-year option. The team can control him with a franchise tag, and the team can control him with another franchise tag. Jalen Ramsey's 4 years away from maybe doing this. Now, can you really
control
all these
with the tag, though? Because Bell wasn't controlled with the tag.
Well, you can sit out, but he was controlled. He had to sit out the entire year. They didn't move him. You know, and I'll tell you one other thing about the NFL. You can't blame them for collusion. Now, maybe on the Kaepernick stuff, but not on this thing because the Raiders bought in, right? I mean, it seemed like nobody was going to sign Brown for a while. And then the Raiders said, here's some dough. We'll give it to you. Hey, we got some ballin' and fallin' from the weekend. Next on ESPN 690.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
The best kept secret in tires is TireOutlet.com. Tire Outlet offers you wholesale prices with premium service. And most important, TireOutlet.com has always had a safety-first focus. With locations throughout the First Coast, check out TireOutlet.com today.
As we reach our 67th year of serving the Jacksonville community, we are grateful for all the support we've received since our founding in 1952 at NAS Jacksonville. Today, ViStar still holds true to our military roots and is honored to provide ongoing assistance and financial education and to sponsor and participate in more than 200 events and charities each year. We thank our military and veterans for the sacrifices they've made for all of us and our community for putting their trust in us. ViStar Credit Union. We never forget that it's your money. Insured by NCUA.
Peace of mind. It's one of the most important things we can have, and sometimes the most elusive. I'm Mark Anajar from the Law Office of Anajar and Levine. If you've been involved in a car accident,
call the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000 for a consultation.
Office in Jacksonville.
Wendy's, the official hamburger of the NCAA, wants to give you a chance to win a Wendy's gift card and tickets to one of the hottest events in town. Go to the contest page on ESPN690.com now and enter for your chance to win. Tickets provided by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the NCAA.
Now, back to Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Is anyone back home, like your family or anybody, still mad that they don't say, like, Brent Martineau and Austin Lane?
No, I haven't got any comments about that yet.
Yeah, I think you're kidding.
I think they're just happy I'm not doing Uber anymore.
Yeah.
Which, hey, I don't know. I might have to do it for Sawgrass weekend because I'm sure you could probably, make some pretty good money.
I was going to say, did you ever do it?
No, I never did it. No, because I know how bad traffic can get, so I didn't want to spend like 3 hours a pop just, taking someone from point A to point B. That's the thing with Uber, Brent. It's the fact that you want to try to get those rides as fast as possible because if you spend more than an hour with a stranger, it can get kind of awkward and stuff, So,
yeah, you've told us some stuff.
Yeah, but the thing, I have plenty more too. I'll share, periodically through the season and whatnot. But yeah, that's always the biggest thing is when you get someone that's not really keen on talking to you, and you just you're stuck in traffic for an hour, just whatever, not saying anything. It's kind of awkward.
Why isn't Foles a done deal yet? Shake and Blake say. Well, because they're probably negotiating.
Yep.
The other one, what I asked the question of, could you see a Jags player doing what Antonio Brown did? And, of course, everybody goes right to Jalen Ramsey, right? Mm-hmm. I expect Jalen Ramsey to get a big deal after they'll pick up his option, and then depending on their financial situation, I would think before that option, they might sign him long term. It's still better to do it. The one that's going to be interesting, though, to watch Ramsey is because it will be, again, right around that time where the labor stuff could come into question. And how teams will finagle that and sign guys before or after. Like, is it better to sign – well, they'll have to think about this. And, again, I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I'll have to read up on it, and we're not there yet. But is it better to sign Jalen Ramsey next year before you potentially go on strike or rework this CBA that favors the players, which means you would give them more money on the outset? And from Jalen's perspective, is it the same type of thing? Would you rather wait on the other side because you might get more of a handsome deal from the new CBA if the players work this the way they hope to work it?
If I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm trying to sign Jalen Ramsey to a long-term deal as fast as possible for all those reasons that you just said, but for the fact that the way that he plays, I feel like he's not going to digress any. I feel like if anything, he's only going to play better. Now, last year, obviously people can argue, but I feel like he had some injuries that weren't really reported. I felt like he was playing hurt most of the year, hence why he was always kind of, when they had like those cover 3 looks or whatever like that, he was playing off the ball a little more, wasn't really using that press coverage. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he might have been hurt. Not really sure the injuries. That's not my area of expertise, but you could just kind of see he wasn't himself, and he still played awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, he still made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So from that perspective, I feel like a guy like that, you want to lock him in as fast as possible, just because if you don't and he keeps on balling out like he's balling out, his price is only going to go up, because every single year, obviously, history has shown us that the market, it'll get higher and higher and higher for the price. So
it's the only way to get the player at a bargain price, seems like, to get him early.
Exactly.
Right? Because it's just going to keep going up. The price is just going to keep going up.
Why do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers, when they drafted their guys, used to always have 3-year deals? That's what Pittsburgh was, they're kind of famous for a while. I don't know if they even still do it anymore now. There might have been something where they had to go 4-year deals, but I remember for a while Pittsburgh used to have a bunch of 3-year deals, because the theory was the fact that after that 3rd-year deal, then they could re-sign them for, to keep them in-house and whatnot like that.
Yeah, instead of waiting for another year of success, and then it just it keeps going. So, yeah, that's the other football note that's interesting is, how about Dante Fowler Jr. kind of taking a little bit of a gamble on himself? He essentially took the 5th-year option, $14 million with the Rams to stay there, and says, hey, I'm going to turn this into a huge contract. This one might have just been a mediocre contract.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting with Dante Fowler, and I'll be interested to see if he's a winner or loser in that. We won't know, of course, for another year from now.
And it's interesting. I go on social media and I see that happens, and people were kind of hating on him a little bit, saying you only signed for 1 year, like, what an idiot. Listen,
not really.
This isn't a bad move. I'm a fan of this move, actually, because it's, once again, we're talking about believing in yourself, betting on yourself, and Fowler's betting on himself here. He's in a situation where he's playing with, the best 3 technique in the game right now. And anytime you have a 3 technique that, is going to command a double team, that's going to demand attention, it makes your life as a defensive end a lot easier. So from that perspective, the pass rush is going to be better for him, with the Rams right now. And obviously that's what they brought him in there to do too. Playing the run may have never been his primary spot, and it never may have been his forte per se, but he was brought there to get after the quarterback, and that's why they traded him in the first place. So if he can get, 8, 9, even 10 sacks this season. Listen, we talked about a guy named Olivier Vernon who got paid from Miami when he went to New York. If Fowler puts up, 10 sacks, sacks are always at a premium. So he can make some money the next couple years if he does that.
Think about it this way. He's going to make $14 million this year. Say he has a 12-sack season.
Mm-hmm.
He's 25 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now he's going to get the $17, $18, $19 million a year. Right, a big contract. If he doesn't, though, he's still going to get like $6, $7, $8 million. It's not like he's. I mean, he might lose some, but he's still making a ton of money over the next 5 years, probably.
And let's be honest. So, seeing they always call it a prove it deal. It's a 1-year deal, a chance for you to prove yourself. Anytime you have a prove it deal like the one he's in, there's going to be a lot of incentives too. So, whether it's how the team does, in the regular season, if they go to the playoffs, if they go to a Super Bowl. If he gets an incentive where how many sacks he gets, there are definitely some incentives tied to that deal as well. So he could actually make a lot more money than that too. I mean, depending, I don't know what the contract says with the language, but I assume it is incentive laden as well.
Yeah, so interesting move for Dante Fowler Jr. I was surprised when it happened that they re-signed. I expected him to go elsewhere, but favorable deal for the Rams, I think. 1 year, $14 million. All right, time for Ballin' and Fallin'. Let's begin. A little ballin', big weekend.
Kuz, hit me with it. Murray State got their ticket punched Saturday night as they beat the Belmont Bruins 77-65.
Oh, is this a fight song?
Oh, this is the Murray State fight song. March on to victory, our flag waving high. March, boys, march on down. Yeah, I can go all day. Anyways, obviously it was a huge win against a team that beat them twice during the regular season. This is huge for the sport of basketball, though, not just Murray State fans like me, obviously, because now the nation gets a chance to see Ja Morant in the tournament. He's been said to be the second best player, if not the third best player in the NBA draft this season, and now the nation gets to watch him play. He was on ESPN a couple times, but listen, if you get a chance to watch Ja Morant play, definitely do it. He dropped 36 points on Saturday against Belmont. And, obviously being a Murray State fan, I'm excited. Kuz can hate all he wants, but 36 points speaks for itself. The guy averages triple-doubles all day, so stop hating on that as well, Kuz. I'm excited, Brent.
Well, you should be excited. I mean, now the big thing is, does Belmont get in?
Yeah, it's funny because everyone thought that Belmont was going to be the team that wins the tournament, therefore should Murray State get in. And if it was me on the outside looking in, it would be hard to argue for Murray State if they didn't win this tournament just because they don't have any big wins, But Belmont's, on the other hand, listen, I think they've only lost 4 games all season. They beat UCLA in UCLA. So I think we're talking about Belmont. And they have a guy, too, who's going to be, I think, a first-round pick as well, a first-round talent. So from that perspective, I think Belmont does get in with the at-large bid. I would be very shocked if they don't get in.
Yeah, well, I wish the Belmonts, the Lipscombs, like Lipscomb lost to Liberty. I wish they'd get a crack. I don't know if they're going to. We'll talk more about the bracket later in the week and what it could look like when it comes out Sunday. But the Indianas, the Floridas, those kind of teams that are big names but on the bubble. Again, if you match the teams up, I probably would pick Florida or Indiana to beat them. Mm-hmm. But I'd still believe they're common in this sense. I'm not picking any of them to go to the Final Four or the Elite Eight. They might win a game in the tournament. Florida, Indiana, Belmont, Lipscomb. I think they might win a game in the tournament. All of them. And that's it. That's all they're doing. So I like the idea of Cinderella going if given the chance. All right, I'm going to go to Tallahassee for my ballin'. And I'm going to spread the wealth in Tallahassee. Because first you have to go to Mike Martin. 2,000 wins as the head baseball coach at Florida State.
Impressive.
Amazing.
Yeah.
2,000 wins. Widely known as one of the nicest men on planet Earth. A winner. Put the program on the map. 41 consecutive 40-win seasons. Think about that. 41 consecutive. We did this on TV last night on Action Sports Jack's Primetime on CBS 47 and Fox 30. You know the next closest streak? Louisville at 7 years. So he's gone 40 wins, 41 straight times. Louisville's next closest with 7. So that shows you how much of a winner this guy's been and what kind of program they built at Florida State. And I get it. Yeah, but hasn't won a national title. Has been to the World Series like 16 times in his tenure and just not able to win the World Series. And that will always hang with Mike Martin unless they are able to do it this year, which would be poetic justice and unbelievable if they were. They actually just lost for the first time this weekend. They're like 11 or 12-1 on the season. But win number 2,000. I'm going to stay on the campus. I think Willie Taggart said that he had a plan, and he gets Alex Hornibrook from Wisconsin. Now, I'm not saying he's balling because, wow, what a get. But at least they have something behind James Blackman. There's so much talk about not signing a quarterback for 2 classes, and I'm not really sure this remedies that. But at least when he said he had a plan, he's got a guy. This guy has, if you look at his numbers, do you have his stats?
Brent, well, first of all, I'm a big Wisconsin fan, so yeah, I'm aware of Alex Hornibrook. I've heard of him before.
Yeah. So
listen,
you don't think this is a good backup option to Florida State?
There's a reason why there's no outrage right now in the state of Wisconsin for losing Alex Hornibrook. Just going to say that. There's a reason.
Well, I know he's not going to win the Heisman. I get it.
No.
But they had 0 behind Blackman. Like, Blackman's 185 pounds.
Yeah.
And they had nothing behind him. They now bring in a guy who's got experience, has played a lot of football. He's played in the Big Ten. And again, I'm not sitting here telling. At least there's something, though. I think I'll give the nod to him for coming up with something. He said he had a plan. At least they fulfilled the plan. And we'll see if he even gets to play or if he's going to compete with Blackman. Blackman, to me, seems like a better fit in the Willie Taggart, Kendall Briles system anyway. But at least they got something, so I'll give him some credit.
So, and here's my quick, just my stating on Alex Hornibrook. Because obviously, I follow the Wisconsin Badgers, and I watched pretty much every single game last season. So, if you want to look at his record, Alex Hornibrook is 32 in 32 games. He's 26-6, which is any fan would see that and be like, all right, that's impressive, and I'll give it to you. That's very impressive. But it's the Wisconsin Badgers. Listen, the Wisconsin Badgers were built to run the ball. Okay, and then they set up the run with the play action, a lot like NFL teams do, which would seem great. But the problem with Hornibrook, listen, he's a big-bodied guy, but he doesn't have a great arm.
Yeah.
even like I feel like a quarterback would kill to play in that Wisconsin offense just because with the play action there, it makes it easy on you. You just got to hand the ball off.
Do they have any weapons on the outside in Wisconsin? They do in Florida State.
No, so I mean, as far as wide receivers, not really, but their tight ends have always been really good. You're talking Tony Fumagalli, just the latest one to come out. But anyways, so you're talking about a quarterback who threw 4 touchdowns, in the Orange Bowl against Miami. So he's shown glimpses. The frustrating part with Alex Hornibrook is that he's not consistent. One game, it looks like he's all world and he'll beat any team. And the next game, he just makes these errant throws where you sit and scratch your head like, what was that? Yeah. So from an inconsistency standpoint, there's definitely some question marks. But hey, as a backup quarterback, I guess it is what it is. I still feel like Blackman's going to be the starter, obviously.
Well, yeah, and I really like that they have depth now. And by the way, Wisconsin was extremely disappointing last year.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, many picked maybe a Final Four team, and they were atrocious. I think they had 5 losses, right?
Not so much. Yep.
So it was a bad year for Wisconsin. One last one to stay in Tallahassee. You got to give a shout-out to the Florida State basketball team. I mean, they won again. They are the 4th best team in the ACC. Always the best conference in America when it comes to basketball. They get a double bye in the ACC tournament. They will be a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. So hats off to Leonard Hamilton and Florida State. I mean, they got it done. And they continue to win, find ways to win, beat Wake Forest the other day. So good for Florida State. That's a lot of Florida State news. If you're a Seminoles fan, giving you a little Florida State here on a Monday from the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass. That's ballin'. What's fallen? And don't go anywhere, Gators. We got some talk for you, too. Dan Mullen on the podium today as they get set for spring practice. All on the way here on Action Sports Jacks on ESPN 690, live from the Players.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the free agent carousel continues to spin in the NFL. The league year doesn't officially begin until Wednesday at 4, but we're already reporting a few moves with big impact around the league. We start with the Raiders, who continue to spend, this time reportedly agreeing to pay left tackle Trent Brown $66 million over the next 4 years. If it happens, that'll make him the highest paid lineman in the league. Pretty much takes Oakland out of the running for Lev Bell, according to Chris Mortensen.
I do not expect him to be in the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes, even though many people disagree with that point of view. And I think it's because of the cash. They don't have $70 million in cash to spend. They have $7 million in cap space. That's different.
Other notable moves today, former Jags D-lineman Malik Jackson will sign with the Eagles for 3 years at $10 million a year, and Danny Amendola signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Lions to take over as their slot receiver. And finally, the Bucs agree to part ways with Deshaun Jackson. The team cut him after no trade market materialized for the disgruntled wideout. We're live 24/7 on your PC or phone. Just hit the Listen Live button anytime at ESPN690.com.
Hey, it's Bill with Bill Fenwick Plumbing. You know the moment when your pipes have sprung a leak and there's water everywhere, or you wake up one of those few cold mornings and you find out the hard way that you have no hot water. Call us, Bill Fenwick Plumbing, for those unexpected moments that threaten to ruin your day. We know you're busy and we want to help you get back to your normal schedule as soon as you can. So next time you have one of those moments, call us or go to our website, BillFenwickPlumbing.com. We're here to help.
Whether you're buying a new or a pre-owned vehicle, your experience should never be anything less than exceptional. Hey everybody, it's Brent Martineau of Action Sports Jacks. And if you're considering a new or pre-owned vehicle, I encourage you to go see my friends at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. I'm so impressed with how they treat their customers. They're good people. No one wants to be haggled or pressured at a car dealership. And my friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville understand that. And they emphasize a no-risk, no-pressure approach. Their team will get you into the right car at the right price. And if for any reason you are not completely satisfied with your new or pre-owned vehicle, you can bring it back to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville within the first 7 days for your money back. Take it from me. We drive a Hyundai in our family, and I encourage you to visit JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com to schedule a test drive. And you, too, will be impressed at how they treat the customer. Exceptional service at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. When you get to the Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville showroom, make sure you tell them Brent Martineau sent you.
Now you have a bunch of young guys who found out we were all on the trade block. Now that trade didn't go through, so I agree with Magic, and you got to put on your big boy pants, but we all don't know how everybody's going to deal with it.
Go Lick and Wingo, weekdays from 6 to 10 a.m. on ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jacks on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jacks is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Well, Jesse James is out of the mix for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The tight end from Pittsburgh going to the Detroit Lions. Isn't this like,
that's
at
a
times,
bummer.
Doesn't it feel like, You just got dumped by your girlfriend at times in free agency?
Listen, Jesse James is probably the top tight end in free agency.
Top one, you think?
Well, who else? Well, you think Cook?
Where's the swagger hound?
Yeah,
Ricky Fowler. By the way, we don't know where Ricky is, but we do have reports that Rory McIlroy is in the fan shop.
Breaking news
now.
in the fan shop.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess, what would you say, Jared Cook is the top tight end?
Well, you could, I guess. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. They're both B-level tight ends at this stage. I mean, Jared Cook was very good, but he's like, what is he, 33 years old now?
Yeah.
He's kind of aging and,
Well,
and
plus,
on the
I mean,
downside.
that's all they had, really, when Cooper left was in Oakland, so he definitely got the ball a lot. Listen, Jesse James was a guy I thought the Jaguars could have definitely used. So if you're a Jaguars fan, you probably hate to see that. And as far from a free agency and tight ends, there's not a lot of options. A guy I brought up a while ago, I brought up two guys actually. Nick Boyle was a guy I wanted to see him get, but obviously he resigned with Baltimore.
Yeah, 3-year, $18 million deal.
Yeah, which wasn't that much money. But getting back to the other guy, Max Williams is the guy that they drafted, in I think in the second round, pretty high from Minnesota. He had some injuries. He had a freak leg accident, I guess, or something like that, where he had to require emergency surgery. But from what I've seen of him on film, they used him a lot. Like actually, the Chiefs used Travis Kelce, where obviously they get him involved in the pass game, but they also run like these gadgets where they're they'll run like sweeps, they'll run like those pitches on the inside to him too as well. So Max Williams is definitely a guy that's interesting. He did bulk up a little bit the past couple seasons and actually excelled in the blocking game when it comes to running, which is something that it was always kind of a knock on him out of college. So he has added mass, he has added some muscle, so he can hold his own in the run game. But man, if you're a Jaguars fan, there's not a lot of options left in free agency right now for a tight end.
Nah, there really isn't, which means the draft should be heavy for them, and they need to revamp the position. I mean, they have to find some guys in free agency. By the way, Kevin Johnson, the corner out of from Houston, going to the Buffalo Bills. So the wheels keep turning. I think Kuz, by the way, didn't ESPN690.com, if you go over there, I think there's like a free agent tracker storyline, so you can always keep up with that. Obviously, Adam Schefter and everybody at ESPN piling in all the latest information. It's so funny. I was watching Schefter this morning, and there's two observations from watching Schefter this morning. One is how tight-lipped the Jaguars organization is.
Right.
Those guys have no clue what the Jags are doing. They really don't. And they know a lot. This is not a knock on Schefter and Rappaport and those guys. They know a bunch. They don't know what the Jags are doing. The Jags do a fantastic job of, whether it's smoke screening, saying nothing, whatever. Very few leaks out of the building, at least that have teeth. I feel like at times we have some pretty good information out of there, but you really never know. And it's almost like you have to go back and check it. Like, we've got some information out there that we've shared with you in the last week or so on the Foles front. And I've been telling you what's not a done deal. It wasn't a done deal when everybody said it was a done deal. But at the same time, you almost, when this is all said and done the next couple of days, you got to go back and be like, all right, were we right on that? Was that right information? Was that real? Was it fit? You know what I mean? And you have to check it. But the Jags do a brilliant job, and probably more organizations trying to keep everything away from flooding the social media world during this last week.
Is that a Tom Coughlin trait? Or, I mean, I guess, even when I played for him, I was kind of naive when it came to information getting leaked out. Like, is that more of a newer thing, or have the Jaguars kind of always been like that when it comes to information getting out?
I think it is Coughlin. I do think Coughlin. I think some people probably in that building they want to keep it in the building, and I think people are like, okay, if they find out this is me leaking, you never know how that stuff works. And then I think there are some intentional leaks at times, and that's the thing. You don't know which is which. Like, is the Bridgewater stuff from Friday an intentional leak from the Jags, to put a little pressure on Foles? Is some of the Tannehill talk, is it agent-driven? Is it Jags headquarters-driven? It's part of the game. It's really fun and fascinating to see play out. But you got to be careful what you read and see.
Yep.
And you're not going to get a lot out of the Jags. Oh, my other point on Schefter, as I even said to my wife, I said, Steph, watch how many times he looks down at his phone during this report. And I counted it. It was like 6 times on like a 2-minute thing. And he was talking to the desk and at the desk with people. And he's just like always looking. It must be buzzing and going off like the entire time.
Yeah.
Pretty funny world. All right, let's get to Fallen here on a Monday. We did the ballin' part. Now for Fallen.
Jacksonville Jaguars fan Cody Hutchinson put up a tweet with a picture of a couch with the Jaguars logo on it. And the tweet read as follows: if he got 25,000 retweets, his wife would let him get the couch.
I retweeted it.
Well, Brent, you're part of the problem then. First of all, listen, money obviously isn't the issue if he's asking Twitter for permission. So put the money out of it. Why do you need to ask your wife's permission to get the couch? Either she hates the Jags, in which case I assume you're a Jaguars fan, so you should probably, say bye, Felicia. Or maybe you're just in a relationship where you're fearing for your own life and you have to run everything by her, which sounds miserable to me. Here's how the conversation of buying the couch should really go. Honey, I'm thinking about buying a couch. Well, can we afford it? Yes, we can afford it. Okay, sweetie, sounds good. Thanks, honey, I love you very much. The end. We shouldn't be having to ask Twitter's permission to get 25,000 retweets, even though he got 25,000 retweets.
Did he get it?
I think he got 26,000 right now. So he's good there. But listen, dude, if you want the couch, just get the couch. And if your wife's not cool with it, then no offense, but maybe you need to find a new wife. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh.
I mean, it's a couch. It's not like he's getting a sports car or something. Like,
sometimes the wives make decisions.
Well, I think it's good to make mutual decisions, Brent. I mean, hey, I've only been married for, a year and a half, 2 years now or whatever. I lost count already. But I think it's good to have mutual decisions, but at the end of the day, it's just a couch, man. It's not a big deal.
I can't believe you just called out a Jags fan for falling. I love it. Is Frank Gore going to play until he's 50?
He might have to.
Just signed a 1-year, $2 million deal with the Buffalo Bills.
He's fallen?
Apparently. No, he's not fallen.
Oh, okay.
My fallen is this. Kuz, you ready? You got it?
I mean, that's the first time I lost that team in 19 games. So it's ugly, and I expect our crowd to be a little more into it too. Like, I know it's not the playoffs, but it is our last go around at Oracle. At least you can stand up if someone make a good play, especially in the beginning. We need that energy, especially this time of the year. It's hard to conjure up energy every single night because you're looking forward to the playoffs and that run.
Oh, boy, this isn't sitting
well.
I mean, listen, you think that's sitting well out of Golden State? You love what?
I love
Calling out the fans?
Yeah.
No, you just did in Fallen, so you just called out a Jags fan.
I love it.
Why?
Number one,
they just got beat by the Suns.
Is it Klay Thompson's fault they just got beat?
Probably.
Okay, I'll say this about Klay Thompson. Kuz back me up here all day. Say what you want about Klay Thompson, but if he ever leaves the Golden State Warriors, they're going to be in trouble for the simple fact, yes, the guy's obviously a scorer. He can shoot the lights out all day, but the guy actually plays defense as well, and he showcased it last night again, stopped Booker a couple times. When I watch the Warriors play, listen, they're not the best defensive team either, with Boogie especially. Steph Curry is not really, locking anybody up. But Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, but Klay Thompson is really the guy that puts his heart and soul into the thing. So if he says that the fans aren't cheering and they're not supporting him and they're not, getting on their feet, then they're not getting on their feet. I trust Klay Thompson. Listen, Warrior fans have had it made in the shade for the past, 3-4 years now, for the fact that you're so accustomed to winning. Anytime it's not going well for the Warriors, fans are just like, well, they suck. We're not going to stand up and cheer. This is basketball. You saw if a play happens, don't be entitled. Stand up and cheer for your team. So I'm all for Klay Thompson.
He just did the ultimate no-no. You don't call out the fans, especially after you just lost to the worst team in basketball, arguably with the Knicks. I mean, you got beat on your home floor. By the way, a week after you got beat by the Boston Celtics, who were struggling, and you lost to them by 30 on your home floor. I mean, listen, they built up a ton of equity, but there was no reason to go here for Klay Thompson. I mean, that's not going to go. You don't win that. You don't win. Ask Allen Robinson if you win that. You don't. I mean, whether you're right or wrong, you don't win against the fans when you call them out. You just don't. There's no victory in that. There's no listening to that. And I wonder where this will lead for Klay Thompson. And they're a mess right now, the Golden State Warriors. I mean, in general, they're fallen. Not for long because it's the end of the regular season.
Yeah.
But they're a mess. I mean, this is unique, I think, to the last handful of years. To lose by 30, then to lose to the worst team in basketball, then to call out the fans, and then they're so loaded. And by the way, on top of that, keep an eye on it. Didn't seem like much, but Kevin Durant got banged up in the game too, in the loss, which will really be the biggest of all things if he's not 100% healthy for the next couple months. But caution, because it sounds like he's fine after twisting the ankle a little bit. Still, Klay Thompson for me falling because that's dumb. What's your take on it, Driving Dish podcast guy?
I think I get why he's saying it, but there's always been that kind of vibe with at least Warrior fans in general, is it always felt like they were only engaged once the playoffs happened, and I think that's just because they're so used to making it every year.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, listen.
So I get it.
Yeah. You telling me the Patriots fans are engaged in the fourth quarter of a game in October against the Bills as they are against the Steelers in late December when a bye might be on the line? I mean, that's sports, and especially the NBA. I mean, the regular season does not matter one lick for the Golden State Warriors. I mean, nothing. I mean, that's just all-star game, accolades, pad your point, all this stuff. I mean, there is really no reason for the Golden State Warriors to play the regular season. I mean, so how, and the way they've played at times, looks like they feel the same way the fans did.
No, I mean, that's
if you're going to go out there and ball every single game, and I get your point. I mean, Klay Thompson is a baller.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go out there and ball, and you're going to try to win 73 games, I guarantee you that year they were trying to, they were breaking the Bulls record. I don't think they sat down very often. I think those fans were into it because there was a quest for something. They were playing for something. It really does feel like right now the Warriors are playing for nothing. That's just the makeup of sports at times, especially when you're really, really good. Hey, we're going to talk about good and great here at the Players' Championship, and we also talk, or at least hear from, Dan Mullen. The Gators get going for spring football practice. Coming up next here on ESPN 690, live from the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass. Our coverage all week long, brought to you by the law offices of John Phillips.
This is Golick and Wingo.
NFL insider Adam Schefter is with us. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Tom Coughlin comes out with this statement. Where do you think this is headed?
They're going to be exploring other avenues, with them being one of the most, if not the most disappointing team in football, starting at the quarterback position. They'll start there, and they'll branch out, and I would expect that they'll obviously discuss the idea of moving on from Leonard Fournette, as they will with other disappointing players there this offseason.
Golick and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
The 2019 Harrell and Harrell Performance Studio is here, and it's better than ever. It's your chance to meet the personalities on the new ESPN 690. Sit in the front row and ask your questions to athletes in town, sports analysts, and experts. You'll be able to see them in person. It's going to be the best year yet. So listen to ESPN 690 for your chance to win your way in throughout the year. It's the Harrell and Harrell Performance Studio, brought to you by Harrell and Harrell.
Run with a John Deere from AgPro, and you'll get nothing but value from our top-of-the-line 3 Series compact utility tractors. They're designed for simplicity, comfort, and great performance. Right now, you can get a 3025E for just $139 per month. Shop online at agproco.com and get equipped for anything. Offer ends 4/30/19. Some restrictions apply. 20% down payment required. See dealer for complete details.
Peace of mind. It's one of the most important things we have, and sometimes the most elusive. I'm Glenn Levine from the law offices of Anajar & Levine. If you've been injured in a slip and fall accident, call us at 904-600-4000.
Office in Jacksonville. From Daytona Beach to Brunswick, now ESPN can be heard loud and clear everywhere on one of the most powerful AM radio stations in Florida. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. This is ESPN 690.
This is Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 and ESPN690.com.
Live at the Players' Championship all week long. We said, why wait till tomorrow when the day looks like this and feels like this? It's actually really hot, but the sun went down a little bit. Cloud cover here at TPC Sawgrass. I thought there were some showers potentially in the forecast today, but it doesn't look like it. This place looks fantastic. We got a little magic whiteboard from the Players' Championship. Owners of sports teams charge you to watch them play with their toys. Be careful.
Be careful.
I didn't know where you were going with that as I'm reading it.
Oh, no, I was just, I mean, it's the truth, though.
I guess it is the truth.
Think about it.
Though, do you think, I guess that's part of it, you know, I always say this about the owners. they have either inherited or earned or whatever enough money to be able to afford these billion-dollar franchises. You know, you can work hard, you can go get a job, you can make some good money, you can go buy a car that you want to buy. There's a really good chance you can't buy a franchise. So there's very few people that have earned enough money, or again, sometimes people get it because they inherited it, whatever it might be. So the owners, I think, do have rights in their little country club, if you will, that they've created, that it's their world. I mean, they've created a world that very few people can be a part of, all across sports. I'm not just talking about the NFL. But I do think what you just said is players, there's like phases of players. Player, when he gets to the show, to the Major League Baseball, to the NFL, right? When you got there, you're like, this is awesome. I made it to the NFL, right?
Yeah, that's what I thought at first.
Right?
Yeah, I know,
and then,
for sure.
And then there's this other phase, like,
oh, it's a business.
Wow, this is a business.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And then there's another phase and category where if you are really good, now you're like, hey, I'm a commodity that's worth something. And Antonio Brown just played that card. And players play that card in free agency. And it's rightful to do that. So I think it's an interesting little ride, and not all players experience the same ride of that, because there are a good amount of players that don't ever get to that third stage. And I think you always have to understand it's a business, and you're still given an opportunity to, you know, if you want to. My point is, like, players do feel like they're a toy sometimes, or this commodity, or a piece of meat, or whatever, a pawn in the game. But man, sign me up to be a pawn in the game at, you know, for Antonio Brown at $30 million or whatever he's made through the course of his career, and all power to him to make that. But there's such a happy medium between saying, oh yeah, you should feel bad for me, America, because the owner is making this much money and I'm only making this much money. Well, you're only making this much money is still a gazillion dollars.
More than everybody else is making.
Yeah,
and,
you know,
exactly.
That's why
So it's hard to get sympathy.
I feel, it's hard to get sympathy for either party.
True.
But that's just the way our world works. I mean, the guy that owns our company has a heck of a lot more money than we do.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and that's just the way it is. I mean, he owns the company, so that's how life works, how the business works, and in the entertainment business, that's where this falls into. Right now, you're in the entertainment business. Now you're worth different things. Like Nick Foles actually just signed an endorsement deal. Did you see that?
I did not.
With I can't even pronounce the company. I don't even know what it is. I think it's a clothing company, but he just signed an endorsement deal. I mean, you get. Because you're in the entertainment business, you have a brand which then allows you to create more dollars in other spots. For Antonio Brown, it's doing voice messages for people. Yeah. For Nick Foles, it's wearing clothing. So
there's definitely perks, man.
And they don't have to give any of that money to the owners.
No.
You know what I mean? But that brand was created because of the owners. So that's why I think it's hard to pick one side or the other. I think there is a happy medium here along the way, but it's never just as clear as day as the one side or the other on this argument. That's what's going to make the next labor discussion very interesting and maybe long-lasting.
And that's why, I mean, listen, I haven't had a lot of interactions with the owners. Obviously, when Mr. Khan came in, you know, he talked to our team a couple times, and I would see him in passing. I would say what's up to him. And that's a guy I have a lot of respect for, because that's a guy who built his whole enterprise, who built all his, you know, all his riches and whatnot from the ground up. You know? I mean, he absolutely. He started out in a garage, so
I no different than an athlete in that sense.
Without a doubt. So I think, and listen, this is just my opinion. You can think whatever you want to think, but I think having that type of owner who knows the value of a buck, not saying the other owners don't as well, but listen, there's a few types of people out there. There's people who had to work to where they got to, who busted their you-know-what to get where they're at. And then there's people who are kind of who are given everything and kind of gifted money and whatnot. And when it comes to Mr. Khan, I mean, that guy worked for everything that he got. So from that perspective, from being a player, you know, I have to respect that a little more, just because he knows the grind. He knows what it takes. So I think, you know, having a guy like that run your franchise, it's only going to be beneficial in the
Here
in
it
the long
is.
run.
It just dropped. Nick Foles and the Jags.
Breaking news.
It certainly seems like it's a done deal, and some details. 4 years, $88 million.
88 divided by 4 is what?
That's 22.
Yeah.
Well, I told you it would get a little more than 3. I still didn't think it would be. Just happened in the last couple minutes here. It looks like 4 years, $88 million for Nick Foles. And it's just coming down right now. So now you know where our world is headed. Fire up the TV cameras, Weber. We're about to go live, it looks like. So, anyway, Ian Rappaport and I think Mike Garafolo as well.
This just in, too, from Adam Schefter reporting that the guaranteed money for Foles in Jacksonville is going to be around $50 million.
$50 million guaranteed.
Adam Schefter.
Is it with a blue check mark?
With the blue check mark, sir.
Wow. So how about that? 4 years, $88 million, $50 million guaranteed, separated over 4 years. I actually thought with that kind of money it would be more like 5 years.
Yeah. Okay.
How about that?
There we go.
What's your reaction? Too much? Did they do the right thing?
Listen, I told you where I stood. I said $20 million. They went 22, and then it's not my money, so I'm not losing $50 million, so I really don't care about that. From the perspective of, I'm just glad that, if you're a Jaguar fan, you have to be happy that it's over, because now you can focus on other things. The quarterback was the big question mark. The whole season is what we talked about and everything in the offseason. So from a fan's perspective, at least now we have an answer. Everyone's got an answer what's going to happen. So now you can start pursuing the tight ends. You can pursue the offensive linemen. You can pursue the wide receivers, and keep going from there. What are your thoughts? A little overpriced, or are you happy with it?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out, trying to sort it through as it comes in right now. I mean, listen, we're all not surprised it's Nick Foles. I'm not surprised it's 4 years. I'm a little surprised if those numbers are right in terms of $50 million guaranteed throughout the course of that. I knew this when it was – there were some rumors early on that it was 3 years, $55 million, and that seemed to be a little bit more what I thought it would be. I thought it would be around $18 million. And so that made a little more sense, and even then it was like $30 million guaranteed, and people were like, well, nah, you can't do that. We can't afford that right now. Well, they just went 4 years, $88 million for $22 million per is the way that sets up, and $50 million guaranteed. I'll tell you what, this takes them completely out of any young quarterback market. Goodbye, Haskins.
You can't justify
Goodbye, Kyler Murray.
Guys.
And now you start looking at where does it take you? Where does it go? To the offensive line? Do you go get a tight end? Do you go get a Pro Bowl tight end, do you think, potentially in Hawkinson? You give this guy a weapon. But the marriage between the Jags and Foles is happening. And the Jaguars went big time to get Foles in a situation where they were the only player. I mean, I think the Jags will come out of this looking a little silly, to be honest with you, if I'm being honest, because – like, you're paying $22 million to a guy that you really didn't even have to do that with, because who else was – I'll be interested to see some of the reports if Miami was in play at all, if there was a mysterious team in play at all, and the Jags had to drive this up. Was this good agent work? Was this just normal standard of living increase in the NFL? Keep in mind, a year ago they signed Blake Bortles to an $18 million per year deal. He didn't have the resume this guy has. So 18 to 22 for Nick Foles, for if you look at just resumes and you take away names, well, you would say, okay, that makes sense, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sitting here trying to comprehend. So, and Brent, you've been around, the free agent signings a lot more than I have, and you've covered them and whatnot. So, I mean, I assume this went pretty fast, correct? Like there wasn't a lot of holdout, there wasn't a lot of arguing back and forth. So, are you under the impression that maybe Foles said one thing, the Jaguars said another thing, they just met in the middle, and that was it? I mean, do you see a lot of negotiating from the Jaguars where it was like, well, we're going to try to lowball them and try to get maybe below $20 million? I mean, was there any indication of that at all, you think, Brent? Or was it just the fact that, listen, we just want to get the guy here as fast as possible, here's $22 million, and let's do this? I mean, obviously we'll probably find out more later, but I'm just, from your opinion right now, what do you think?
Well, listen, there's a good way to do business and a bad way to do business, and like you said before, you're not going to sit there and say, hey, we love you, Nick Foles. Come be the savior of our team. We want you to be the quarterback for the next not only 4 years, but we hope we have to pay you more and you're the quarterback for the next 6 or 7 years, but we only want to pay you this, and we're going to piss you off by only paying you this. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't really say that. This guy earned a payday. In our world, And in the world of sports, in the world of the NFL, this guy earned a payday. The only problem he ran into is a market that didn't need a ton of veteran quarterbacks. And so he just got unlucky because his deal would have been for even more if this was last year.
Oh, without a doubt.
Or if it's maybe next year. But there's only a couple of guys fishing for Nick Foles right now, at most. And that cost him some dollars. So, again, if that cost him dollars, I mean, I'm not sitting here saying that's a good deal for the Jags. It doesn't feel like the Jags won the deal. I feel like Nick Foles won the deal. $50 million guaranteed feels like he won the deal. 4 years. Now you just have to do this, Jacksonville. Keep your fingers crossed. The Jags made the right decision.
Cool, start making your T-shirts, too.
It's 9-0 Foles.
I like the other one.
No, it's not that one, Coos. Although, $50 million large.
Swinging.
Not the only thing large.
Swinging.
Guess what we're going to talk about when we come back on ESPN 690, live from the Players. Brought to you by the law offices of John Phillips.
ESPN 690 Sports Center Update.
I'm Aaron, and the free agent carousel continues to spin in the NFL. The league year doesn't officially begin until Wednesday at 4, but we're already reporting a few moves with big impact around the league. We start with the Raiders, who continue to spend, this time reportedly agreeing to pay left tackle Trent Brown $66 million over the next 4 years. If it happens, that'll make him the highest paid lineman in the league. Pretty much takes Oakland out of the running for Lev Bell, according to Chris Mortensen.
I do not expect him to be in the Le'Veon Bell sweepstakes, even though many people disagree with that point of view. And I think it's because of the cash. They don't have $70 million in cash to spend. They have $7 million in cap space. That's different.
Other notable moves today, former Jags D lineman Malik Jackson will sign with the Eagles for 3 years at $10 million a year, and Danny Amendola signed a 1-year prove-it deal with the Lions to take over as their slot receiver. And finally, the Bucs agree to part ways with Deshaun Jackson. The team cut him after no trade market materialized for the disgruntled wideout. We're live 24/7 on your PC or phone. Just hit the Listen Live button anytime at ESPN690.com.
Have you always wanted to know a guy in the boat business? You now have a guy. Guy Morrison and his staff at Consignment Boat Sales will help you with selling or buying a boat. Consignment Boat Sales offers a professional and no-hassle way of helping boat owners sell their pre-owned boats and assisting soon-to-be boat owners with finding that quality pre-owned boat. Consignment Boat Sales will help you in valuing your boat, preparing it for market, performing water tests with potential buyers, and finalizing the sale by handling the closing documents. Consignment Boat Sales is looking for quality bay boats, flat boats, center consoles, skiffs, and deck boats from 14 foot to 30 foot. Find them just past the ferry landing on the way to the Mayport Public Boat Ramp. You now have a guy in the boat business. Find Guy at jaxboating.com. That's JAX boating.com. To help you sell your boat or purchase a pre-owned boat, contact Consignment Boat Sales today at jaxboating.com.
Wow, that sounds beautiful.
Dad, I'm performing at school Thursday night. You're coming, right?
Of course.
Promise? Do you pinky promise?
Yes, I promise. You promise to love your children and be there for them. It's very important that you get a blood test for hepatitis B so you can take
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Breaking news. Quarterback Nick Foles heading to Jacksonville. The former Eagle getting 4 years, $88 million from the Jags. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports that deal includes over $50 million in guaranteed money. Landon Collins, one of the top safeties in the NFL, gets to face his former team, the Giants, twice a year. He told ESPN's Josina Anderson he'll sign with the Redskins 6 years, $84 million, $45 million guaranteed. And there are a few reasons they're paying top dollar for Collins, notes ESPN's Louis Riddick.
In Washington, they need a guy of Landon Collins' character. They need a guy of his, just of his makeup. They have no one on the roster right now at that position in particular that even comes close to matching what his pedigree is from a leadership standpoint. They need that desperately.
Louis Riddick on The Will Cain Show. The Lions will sign former Patriots defensive end Trey Flowers 5 years, between $16 and $17 million a year. Detroit will also sign nickel corner Justin Coleman 4 years, $36 million. Linebacker Quan Alexander will sign a $54 million deal with the 49ers.
Great news. There's a quick way you could save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. ESPN 690. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio. WOKV Jacksonville. Listen live everywhere you go on ESPN690.com. ESPN 690, a Cox Media Group station.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
Well, there it is. 4 years, $88 million, it looks like, for Nick Foles, Super Bowl winning quarterback coming to Jacksonville. Can he win a Super Bowl here in Jacksonville? That's the quest. And the Jags think, well, he's the best guy to potentially get the job done. It's twofold now. When this Nick Foles news breaks just moments ago, and it's all over the place, from NFL Network to ESPN, all across. And once again, I want to remind everybody, the Jags will not confirm this stuff until Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So no deals are official in the NFL. We just have to go with the reports, and this is all coming from agents, and that's why Schefter and Rappaport and everyone else are reporting it. So I would think it's true once you start seeing dollars, for sure. And this is something that leaked out last week and at the Combine, and who knows how much of it was really done. I think a little bit was connecting the dots and guessing and kind of getting feelings for everybody. I told you all week I pretty much knew it wasn't done for the Jags' point of view last week, but now they had, the last 5 or 6 hours to get it done, and they did. So that was quick. Like you said, we just had asked the question about an hour ago, how long do you think it will take? And there it goes. Bingo. Nick Foles to the Jaguars, 4 years, $88 million. Now, that's the Nick Foles part. When does the Blake Bortles shoe fall? Because this essentially punches Blake Bortles' ticket out of town. His code to the gate might have worked today, but it might not tomorrow. And it's as simple as that. When it comes to Blake Bortles, the Blake Bortles era in Jacksonville is officially over as a Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback. Now, we saw that one coming too. All right? Yeah. I mean, these are the two worst-kept secrets in the NFL and here in Jacksonville, that Blake Bortles was done and Nick Foles was headed here. But both coming to fruition probably in the next 48, 72 hours, I would think. Just a reminder on the Bortles front, they owe him $1 million signing bonus, roster bonus, on Sunday. So it definitely will happen before then. It was bad business to release Bortles on Friday or Saturday or Sunday before they knew they had a deal done with Nick Foles. So now we wait. And
22 years is going to also put him around probably the 10th highest paid quarterback right now in the NFL.
Yeah, for a Super Bowl winning quarterback, from that standpoint. Listen, the deal feels like Foles won the deal, and that's because it feels like there was one suitor, and that's it. And so from a negotiating play, I feel like Foles won. I think that's what the fans' expectation is and thought is. But if you want to start measuring up what he's done the last couple of years to other quarterbacks and all that, $22 million for a Super Bowl winning quarterback is not bad. What makes this worse for the Jags is the fact they still owe Blake Bortles money. If Blake Bortles wasn't on the books for anything, $22 million for Nick Foles is fine. I mean, absolutely fine. That's what you pay quarterbacks now. So that at the surface is not a bad part of it. It's just that you marry it with the Blake Bortles, the swing and a miss on that contract, and now what you're going to pay is big bucks for the quarterback position in 2019. And what else does that allow them to do in free agency will be interesting to see. But you have to go get this guy weapons now. He had a litany of weapons in Philadelphia. You have to go get this guy some people to throw to. They expect Leonard Fournette to be motivated and healthy. They expect Marquise Lee to come back, but I still don't know how high their hopes are on Marquise Lee from a production standpoint, is coming off a pretty bad injury. D.D. Westbrook should take another step. DJ Chark, who really knows? Keelan Cole, who knows? So they have to go get a receiver. and they have 0 at the tight end position right now. They have to do that, and they just opened up a gaping hole on the right side with their right guard situation, A.J. Cann, his contract expiring, and releasing Jeremy Parnell to save $6 million against the cap on Friday. So there's a lot to work on offense. This is a reunion of John DeFilippo, the offensive coordinator, and Nick Foles. They know each other very well from the Philadelphia days. And now you ride with Foles. Why don't I feel like Jacksonville is as excited as they should be for getting a Super Bowl winning quarterback?
Because the city of Jacksonville is going to think that the Foles got the better end of that deal, and that the Jaguars overpaid for him when they didn't have to, and that's what it's going to come down to. Me personally, listen, I said $20 million. He got 22. If he takes us if he takes the Jaguars to the playoff, if they go to the Super Bowl, I mean, is that extra $2 million really going to bother anybody, Brent? I don't think so.
No.
So
not at all.
From that perspective, I just think that 20 was the magic number. It's what all the analysts were talking about. It's what all the social media lights were talking about. So if you're a Jaguars fan, you probably feel like you overpaid a little bit. If I'm a Jaguars fan, though, too, I'm also happy for the fact that it's over. Whether they paid an extra $2 million per season, I say so be it. Now you have the key cog in place, and now everything else can start falling in line. Now you can start going after the wide receivers. You can start going after the tight ends because, listen, there are a bunch of glaring needs right now in that offense. The defense is pretty much set up for success. Add a little pieces here or there, but when it comes to offense, some things need to happen. So the fact that you signed Nick Foles, you signed the quarterback, it's a great start, and now they can, get the ground rolling from there and keep on continuing to sign more players. So from that perspective, at least this didn't get dragged on for 2 or 3 weeks where both, guys are going back and forth, whatnot. At least there's a plan in place now. You can go from there.
Yeah, and the Jaguars will put a plan in place, and what will that be? What will it feature? What will they put around him? That's the big thing. And listen, I don't want to be, as we continue to try to check in with more information, just a reminder, Jags are not going to confirm this, so this is all off reports, and I think are right, too. I questioned the reports a little bit last week because I don't think it was a done deal like many suggested. This was a great game of connect the dots. And that went all the way into today when they work on a deal and get the deal done. The Jags said, okay, let's go get it. And by the way, part of the reason they go get Nick Foles, not only because he's the best quarterback available, not only because of the connection to John DeFilippo, they obviously did not feel like Dwayne Haskins was worth trading up for and potentially getting as the next franchise quarterback here in Jacksonville. They did not love Dwayne Haskins like many of you did in the fan base. And I know there are a lot of fans that really wanted Dwayne Haskins. But they did not see it that way. And I had heard last week coming out of the Combine that they liked Haskins. They weren't in love with him. And maybe didn't even have him as a top 15 player. And really, if you look at and you rank players in the draft, I saw Daniel Jeremiah today have Dwayne Haskins at like the 18th best player in the draft. So if you don't feel that way, then you don't make a silly move just to make a move. Now, some will argue, did they just make a move just to make a move with Nick Foles? But, again, this guy's got a resume that has 3 really good credentials on it. One is 27-2, 27 touchdown season, 2 interceptions with Philly, Super Bowl, and then this last year they go win a playoff game. He goes on a run. He got him to the playoffs when they looked like they were dead.
It's just funny how it works out because, so say that last year's draft class was happening this year. So, Josh Allen was in the running, Baker Mayfield. Haskins would probably be maybe the 4th or 5th guy taken. And I guarantee if that was the case, Jaguar fans wouldn't even have Dwayne Haskins in their mouth as a possible target for the Jaguars to land because we'd be going, well, we should get, Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. So from that perspective, I think sometimes we all get caught up for the fact that, yes, Haskins is probably the number 1 rated quarterback coming out of the draft this year, but is he really going to be that game changer? Is he going to be that Baker Mayfield? Is he going to be that Patrick Mahomes? Obviously the jury's still out with it. The Jaguars aren't going to ever find out. But I think sometimes too we get infatuated with the idea like, well, he is a top quarterback, so we should pursue that. And I said the same thing. I think Haskins is definitely intriguing, but that's just for the fact that he's the top quarterback in the draft. So from a Jaguars perspective, you wanted the Jaguars to take him because that was the top quarterback. But now the Jaguars bring in a guy like Foles, and you don't have to worry about it anymore. So from that standpoint, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like the Tyrod Taylor analogy I was using, but with Foles, you feel like you're going to get a pretty solid player at least. He might surprise some people and be a Pro Bowl and might even be like an all-pro caliber kind of player, and then that'll be great too as well. But at least that we're going to have some kind of consistency. At least we think we are. I mean, we don't know for sure, but the fact that if history shows us anything, the past 2 seasons in Philadelphia, he's had some great success. But obviously it's about bringing the players in now around him to be successful. Because the last thing you want to do is bring in a free agent quarterback with 0 weapons and hurt his confidence right out the get-go.
Yeah, and this is what I said. Just to go back, all the way along this whole Foles thing, my initial thought was I think he's more of a system guy. I think he fits in Philly. If you look, he's fit with he's been with DeFilippo or with Doug Peterson in that kind of offense, and he's done very well at times in that kind of offense. Now, he was with Chip Kelly, too, so, for a bit. But I feel like they had a lot of pieces. They had a good defense. They had weapons. They even had a running game, although that got beat up a little bit toward the end of the year. They abandoned the run in Philly here in 2018 because they just started throwing it around the yard. The connection between Peterson and Foles felt like something to me. Felt like that's where the magic was. And so my initial reaction to Foles months ago was while I think you have to maybe go get the guy, I'm not sure this is going to work out positive. I don't know if I love the move for him to have success. And what I have been saying ever since is I don't like the move at all for spending this on a quarterback if you don't go get him playmakers. That was my whole beef with the Antonio Brown stuff. It's like, okay, if you're going to tell me you got Foles and a guy like Brown, or go ahead and get Golden Tate if you want, or go get Hockenson in the draft. Now, if you're starting to do that, I'm coming on board with you.
Agreed, and, we've been known to tie Doug Peterson to the success of Nick Foles, but let's not forget Nick Foles' best season came when Doug Peterson wasn't around, and it was with Chip Kelly.
It was, yeah.
So, to take it for how you want to take it. We're going to find out real fast how successful Foles is without Doug Peterson. But once again, I think the fact of having a coach that he's familiar with, and John DeFilippo, a quarterback coach, a guy who gets the best out of his players, who adapts to the players that he has, I think those are all positive signs for the Jaguars going forward.
All right, well, Alicia says it's too much. $18 million per year was plenty.
Listen,
we'll see.
If the Jaguars go to the playoffs, we're not talking about an extra $2 or $3 million.
The money don't matter.
We don't care anymore, right?
It does seem like a lot, but the money won't matter. Also on Twitter, Jags outbid themselves. This is a terrible move. What else we got? What else we got as we head to break here on a Monday with the breaking news of Nick Foles? Johnny says if he takes us to the playoffs every year, I don't give a... Oh, don't read that. I hope this works. If not, trade our full draft for Trevor Lawrence when his time comes. Had to make this move. Window for this D is probably only 2 or 3 more years. JPC 14881 says, and you know what? That might not be too far off. Matt Sturman says guest on First All Access next year. Absolutely. Sign up Nick Foles on CBS 47. Hey, guess what we're going to talk about? More Nick Foles from the Players' Championship live at TPC Sawgrass. Breaking news, the Jags have their quarterback, and they hope he can take them to the Super Bowl.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau on ESPN 690 is brought to you by Best Bet Jacksonville and Orange Park.
Why do local women watch Action News Jacks? Because the unexpected can mess up their day. They like to know about the rain, the recalls, and school changes because their families are depending on them. They need more than just crime stories. They want to be in the know with real investigations that truly impact them, not something they can just Google. Is that selfish? We don't think so. Their time is valuable. In fact, more women are now watching Action News Jacks than any other station.
The 2019 Harrell & Harrell Performance Studio is here, and it's better than ever. It's your chance to meet the personalities on the new ESPN 690. Sit in the front row and ask your questions to athletes in town, sports analysts, and experts. You'll be able to see them in person. It's going to be the best year yet. So listen to ESPN 690 for your chance to win your way in throughout the year. It's the Harrell & Harrell Performance Studio. Brought to you by Harrell & Harrell.
As we reach our 67th year of serving the Jacksonville community, we are grateful for all the support we've received since our founding in 1952 at NAS Jacksonville. Today, ViStar still holds true to our military roots and is honored to provide ongoing assistance and financial education and to sponsor and participate in more than 200 events and charities each year. We thank our military and veterans for the sacrifices they've made for all of us and our community for putting their trust in us. ViStar Credit Union. We never forget that it's your money. Insured by NCUA.
It's hard to beat that new car smell, especially when it's a brand new Hyundai. Hey everybody, it's Brent Martin of Action Sports Jacks, and I think we can all agree there's something to that new car smell you just can't beat. You also can't beat the exceptional service at the new Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville. It's a brand new dealership here in town, and my friends at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville live by giving you the most superb car buying experience you can get. No one likes to be haggled or pressured when buying a car. The staff at Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville understands this and emphasizes their no-risk, no-pressure approach. They'll help you find the right car for you at the right price. And if you are not 100% satisfied with your new car, you can bring it back to Jenkins Hyundai of Jacksonville within the first 7 days for your money back. The Hyundai you want, the service you deserve, all with the limited lifetime warranty that's good anywhere in the United States. Schedule a test drive at JenkinsHyundaiofJacksonville.com and make sure you tell them Brent Martineau sent you.
The free agent class, like it's not a terrible year to not have a ton of money. True, because I think you'd be throwing money at people. I mean, heck, we're even arguing Nick Foles is worth throwing money, and he's got a Super Bowl ring.
Action Sports Jacks with Brent Martineau. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on ESPN 690.
Hey, it's Mike Golick from Golick and Wingo. You're listening to Action Sports Jacks with our friend Brent Martineau on ESPN 690.
Nick Foles is a Jacksonville Jaguar. Well, not really yet. And like I've been saying, they won't officially announce it in Jacksonville for another couple of days, so we get to sit on the reports for the next 48 hours until 4 o'clock on Wednesday. And, well, by that time, Nick Foles will probably be in Jacksonville. They'll send the Shad Khan jet, and I think out to L.A., and he'll get to town and sign that big deal and be introduced, and we figure out if he's the savior of this franchise from a quarterback perspective. We got Brent off the fence, the magic whiteboard says.
He finally came down. We had to coax him off the fence, but it took $88 million, but he's down.
It took $88 million to make it happen. And I wanted to share, Statboy was helping us out watching some of the reports, I think, from Rappaport and Mike Silver. And from a money standpoint, this continues to be a problem for Jags fans to digest the dollars. And I said it earlier in the show. I've said it for years. You just said it a couple more times. It's not your money, so don't worry about that. You still like to feel like the Jags got to win, I guess, sometimes. Like you got the sale at the store, and the store didn't beat you. Sometimes there's a feeling for that. And also you want to make sure the Jags have enough money to spend wisely on whatever weapons they can put around Nick Foles now. So from that standpoint, I do feel like they overpaid a bit. I mean, in a market that was pretty small for Nick Foles, despite his successes, it does feel like they overpaid. And I was wrong on this front, unless we see the structure of this deal look different. But if it purely is $22 million a year, I told you that I thought the guaranteed money would be spread out more, and that will be the case because it's a 4-year deal instead of a 3-year deal. But I also thought they would try to slim down the first year of this deal so they weren't paying $29 million for the quarterback position, because keep in mind they're on the books for $6.5 of that with Blake Bortles. And if you add dead money in right now, they might be on the books some $38 million at the quarterback position. So it's a lot focused on the QB position for what you're getting, it seems like, in year one. So I'm really interested to see how the deal's crafted. Again, I think the Jags aren't going to put themselves in a corner on the deal. They are telling you that they believe in Nick Foles, that this is not a 1 or 2 year thing. They think this could be a 4, 5, 6, 7 year run with Nick Foles. That's what they just said here. And they said it loud and clear with $50 million guaranteed in a 4-year deal worth $88 million. So Statboy fills us in on NFL Network with Mike Silver. Again, I told you he's pretty connected. Silver is with the Jags. They wanted to make sure he came into the building knowing it was his team, kind of what we were talking about a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. That you can't – it says if you lowball the guy, he doesn't know if you're all in. It affects him and the team as well, right? You don't want to piss the guy off. You want to say embrace the guy and then piss him off by saying, but we only want to give you this much. That's not a good start to the relationship, in other words. The locker room now knows who the guy is, no questions asked. Silver basically said the only people that should be worried about the money shot and Tony, not really the fans. And then you just brought this up. He'll be like the 10th paid quarterback.
10th highest paid.
Yeah, so that's not bad for a guy who just won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, went to the playoffs last year. So, again, I think the dollars we all kind of finagle and look at and are like, oh, boy, I don't know if that adds up. That's really not the story here. The dollars are the dollars. The bottom line is what we brought up late last week, where really nobody's talked about, they've criticized the deal. But what if the Jags just got a break? What if they just got a break? And they were the only team in play for a guy who won a Super Bowl 2 years ago, has on his resume a 27 touchdown, 2 interception season, led the Eagles into the playoffs and won another playoff game last year. What if they just got a break on a guy about to play the best football that he's ever played because he's played pretty darn good football the last couple of years? What if they just got a really good leader, a guy that fills in some of the gaps they've been missing? Accuracy, relationship with the offensive coordinator that's already built in, doesn't have to be groomed and built over the next year in change. That's already there. So what if, again, I'm not saying this is the case, but what if they just got a big-time break? Do we look on this deal 2-3 years down the road and say, how about that? The Jags, who have been seemingly stuck in the cellar and gotten all these bad breaks and snake bitten by Justin Blackmon and the Derek Harveys and the Blaine Gabberts and all these other moves. They just got a guy that won a Super Bowl landed in their lap because nobody else wanted a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And so what? They paid him, but they signed him up for a few years, and now it's his franchise. Well, that's what Tom Coughlin, Dave Caldwell, and Doug Marrone hope.
And, I would love to buy into that narrative for the fact that the Jaguars may have just got a bargain. That they may have got their future quarterback, a guy that can lead them in the playoffs and maybe take them to a Super Bowl. I would love to buy into that narrative. But I'm a realist, and right now it's hard for me to buy into that exact narrative, that exact script at the moment, just because the Jaguars are so abysmal on offense right now. There's just not a tight end to throw to, Brent. There's 0 tight ends right now. There's not a tight end really on the team that's going to carry the Jaguars to a winning season. Receivers are questionable right now. I feel like, and we've talked about it, with Marquise Lee, who's got all the potential in the world, can he stay healthy? DJ Chark, I think, is going to be a nice addition next year. I feel like I always say your biggest improvements come from the first to second season. I think if Chark can, obviously fix the penalties, fix the fumbles, and just really get his mind right more than anything, I think he's got all the physical tools. That's shown itself on tape. If he can get the mental tools and everything right, I think he's going to be okay there. But we're still missing that big-time receiver. And from a running game, I like Fournette going forward. I really do. I vouched for him before, but I wouldn't mind seeing a backup guy, maybe a third down back to bring in as well. So from that perspective, I think everyone wants to buy in the Foles narrative where he's going to lead in the playoffs. But when you look at that offense, it's hard to buy into everything right now. It helps, yes. The Jaguars have signed Foles, so that part is done. The quarterback's in place.
Yes, it is.
But there's still a lot of places to go from there. So let's everybody's pump the brakes for a second.
Yeah, pump the brakes, I guess, from that perspective. But, again, where he's going to be slotted in the landscape of the NFL from a QB situation, the money is all right. But I listen, now what, right? What do you think? What would you do? 7th pick. You going right tackle or you going tight end?
Well, okay, so let's think of it from free agency quick. As far as tackles and whatnot, what's available in free agency that really we know of? I mean,
not your fix.
Yeah.
Probably. And you don't have – usually they'll command a ton of money, talk about overpaying guys. You just did that with Norwell last year.
Okay, so let me go and ask you this question. Would you rather draft a tackle – because it's not going to be a guard. We can assume it's going to be a tackle if they do draft tackle first round. So would you rather draft a tackle the first round, or would you bring in a free agent who has had some injury history, who's going to come at a discount, but you're not quite sure what you're getting? But he is a veteran, but you don't know what you're getting because obviously there's injury history.
Yeah, I think I still rather go that route with a guy that I know a little bit about. The danger in the draft is you don't know these guys, so they've done nothing. I'd rather go with a guy that's done something in the draft. So It's as simple as that. I'm sorry, not the draft, but in free agency. And, where does Eric Flowers fit into the row? I will say this. I think the Jags like their offensive line more than people give them credit for. Now, they still have holes on the right side to fix, for sure. But the other three guys, I think they like more than other people do. So my point of view on it has been Nick Foles needs a tight end to operate. He's always had one, wherever he's been. And I think you got to go get him one. And so people will say, second round, I can get Irv Smith. Okay. But is Irv going to 7 Pro Bowls, yet you think Hawkinson is going to 7 Pro Bowls, or Fant? You think those guys are can't. So there's the separation. Like, just where do you grade these guys? My thought is if you grade some of them in a top 10 and the other guys as 35 or 40th, well, you're not getting the best guy then. You got a chance to get the best guy. You got a chance to get a guy that's going to go to the Pro Bowl for a long time to come. Well, get me the best guy to help out the guy you just spent $50 million for, guaranteed. And that will be my view of it. I think you can get a lot of right tackles that won't go to Pro Bowls even if they're good.
And I don't want to hear the narrative anymore about, well, if the Jaguars take a tight end at number 7, that's too high for a tight end. They're taking a pass catcher at number 7. Whether it's a receiver or a tight end, I'm going to throw the tight ends in the receiver category, okay? They're pass catchers. So if the Jaguars feel like there's a pass catcher that's a game changer, like a Hawkinson, like a Fant, I don't care where they're ranked. If they're a game changer as a pass catcher, you go get them.
Well, yeah, and we'll see if they do it. I think the Jags actually will go offensive lineman in the draft. But we got 2 months to talk about that, or at least 6 weeks to talk about that. Hey, when we started this show, you wanted us to open up the phone lines. We're doing it. 904-662-9901. 904-662-9901. Nick Foles is a Jaguar, or will be in the next 48 hours. Your thoughts on that? As we continue live from the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass, our coverage all week from the Players, brought to you by the law offices of John Phillips.
It's Golick and Wingo.
Hall of Famer Tony Dungy. Rooney Rule in place. A lot of people say it's not working. What's going on with this, and what could be the remedy for this?
Ron Rivera, minority defensive coach, has been to a Super Bowl. Mike Tomlin, minority defensive coach, has won a Super Bowl. Anthony Lynn, minority running back coach. So that just kind of echoes my point. It doesn't have to be quarterback coach.
Golick and Wingo, weekday mornings at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Hey, it's Bill with Bill Fenwick Plumbing. I have yet to meet anyone that has woken up in the morning and said, hot dog, today I'm calling a plumber. Usually it's, who am I going to call and can they take care of me today? Yes, we know the stereotype, dirty, smelly, probably late, and more than likely, you don't want him to bend over. If you need a plumber, call Bill Fenwick. See what our Golden Plunger service is all about. Call us or go to BillFenwickPlumbing.com.
And now, a quick comparison from Grasshopper. When picking a phone number for business, what sounds more professional? Your personal number?
Hold on, let me give you my cell. And actually, let me get yours too, just so I don't ignore your call, you know?
Or a dedicated business number, courtesy of Grasshopper?
It was a pleasure meeting you. Our number is 1-833-IT-TROOP. Give us a call anytime.
There's no contest. Put your best voice forward with Grasshopper, the virtual phone system for small business. Try it free at grasshopper.com.
100 years of hard work can take you far. And no one knows that better than Goodyear. In 1918, we started the Akron Wingfoots basketball team, laced up and took to the court. And we've been outperforming the rest ever since. Goodyear proudly celebrates our 100th anniversary in basketball and our relentless dedication to being unstoppable. Goodyear, more driven.
Don't miss Bush and Live this summer at Daly's Place on August 18th. Go to the contest page at ESPN690.com now and enter for your chance to win a pair of tickets to the show. Bush and Live at Daly's Place with ESPN 690.
You watch Action Sports Jax on CBS 47 and Fox 30. Now Action Sports Jax is on your radio.
Broadcasting live from the ESPN 690 Anajar and Levine studios. Here's your host, Brent Martineau.
I love Nick Foles.
There it is. I love Nick Foles.
Who's that?
Who was that said that to us?
Was that Sao Paulo?
No, it wasn't Sao Paulo. Gosh, I forget. It was just a couple weeks ago. I can't remember. But now you all say it, Jacksonville. I love Nick Foles. Let's hope we're saying that September and November and January around here. The Jags have their quarterback of the future. And you know what's amazing? Continues to be amazing. By the way, we've opened up the phone lines, 904-662-9901. We were going to get to Dan Mullen, the Florida Gators. We'll probably have to put that on the back burner, at least for now. And the Players' Championship, we're going to talk a little more golf. We got that to do all week long. Although Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Phil Mickelson, all here getting ready for the big event. Can't wait for it. But obviously the big story now is Nick Foles, and he's a Jaguar. He will be a Jaguar. So we'll open up the phone lines, 904-662-9901. Come on in if you want to talk about it and what you think about it. $22 million per year, $50 million guaranteed over the next 4 seasons, which means the Jags have their quarterback of the future. And I started to say, I brought this up the other day, Tom Coughlin has still only drafted one quarterback in the first or second round since 1995. And he ends up getting Eli Manning. Now, really, they drafted like Phillip Rivers and Eli Manning traded away, that whole swap thing. But he ended up with Eli Manning. And first or second round, unless I missed something, but I did that research, I think, a couple weeks ago. And they're not taking a chance in the draft. I mean, they're not rolling the dice on Dwayne Haskins or Kyler Murray, who has his pro day Wednesday, by the way. They're not doing it. And will they now, from a backup option, maybe in the 3rd round, 5th round, try to get a young quarterback and start spinning the wheels and on some of those kind of guys? We'll see. But it's not happening in the 1st or 2nd round now that they just signed Nick Foles to a $50 million guaranteed contract over the next 4 years. The whole deal, by the way, is $88 million, $50 million of it guaranteed, which, again, sounds like so much money. Sounds like the Jags overpaid, which I think they did a little bit by probably a couple $1 million, few $1 million each year. But if you look at it in the landscape of quarterbacks, it's really not a bad deal. I mean, if you're paying Nick Foles as your guy, they were paying Blake Bortles last year as like the 14th highest quarterback in the league. I mean, Tyrod Taylor was sitting on the bench making $15 million in Cleveland. So the $22 million is not Kirk Cousins money, right? It's not obviously an Aaron Rodgers or a Drew Brees or an elite quarterback like that kind of money. It's still somewhat reasonable money for the quarterback position in 2019.
I got to ask, and I'm just, I'm kind of playing out these scenarios in my head, I guess. The Giants don't take Haskins. Haskins is at number 7. Do you think there's going to be an outcry of Jaguar supporters that still want to see Haskins here in Jacksonville?
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. There is such a
even as the first-round pick that's probably not going to play the whole season, you think people are still going to be...
I would think the fan base will be like...
No, that's what I'm saying, the fan base.
A big segment of the fan base will be like, you can still get him, get him. I don't think they will.
No, I don't think so either.
That doesn't seem very sensible. But I tell you what, you better be convicted, first of all, when you spend the owner's money like they just did. But also, when that situation could present itself and you say, listen, I think Foles is better than having a franchise quarterback in Dwayne Haskins. And again, people, the connect the dots on this was easy. With John DeFilippo, but also with Tom Coughlin and Doug Marrone. I mean, these guys are on the clock. They got to win. This defense is on the clock. You've got a lot of good players, and I don't know how much of them you can keep for years and years to come. Just lost a couple of good football players, Tayshaun Gibson and Malik Jackson. That was eye-opening enough. Had to shift some of that money over to the offensive side of the football. So, the clock is running, and now you have a quarterback. And this is my favorite part about this deal. And I don't have a lot of favorites. I don't know if this is a good – I mean, I like the fact the guy's got a good resume. But free agent quarterbacks don't usually go win again. They don't win big. It just doesn't usually happen. But my favorite part of it is I would sign up for a 30-year-old quarterback any day of the week over a 24-year-old quarterback if the skill set or the upside or the whatever you want to say is equal. Now, obviously, if you got a 24-year-old kid and you grade him like Patrick Mahomes compared to a Nick Foles, well, then that might be different. But if they said, hey, I think we can do just as much with Nick Foles as we can do with Dwayne Haskins, I'd rather have the guy that has played around the NFL in different systems, had the experiences, has had success, has even had failure. I'd rather have the 30-year-old quarterback. It's one of those positions where you play better as you get older. You play a lot better as you get older. That's not the case in all of sports. A lot of sports, your best ball is 24 to 28 years old, and it might be the case with a guy like Malik Jackson, But that's not the situation with the quarterback. So I like the fact from a QB perspective, they go get a 30-year-old guy.
And one thing to keep in mind, too, the fact that, listen, there obviously when we're talking quarterbacks in the draft, there's not a top priority outside of really Haskins and Murray. Now, don't get me wrong, I think there's going to be a number of quarterbacks that go the first round. But as far as starters day one, I don't necessarily see that. But something to keep an eye on now, since Jacksonville has their quarterback. Washington has the 15th pick, and Miami has the 13th pick. Both teams I can see in play for maybe getting Haskins or literally the first available quarterback if they want to go the Murray route. Granted that Oakland and obviously Arizona doesn't take a quarterback as well. But maybe Washington would be an intriguing team to trade with Jacksonville. Maybe we can trade back a little bit and get some more, maybe make another second-round pick or something like that. Because Washington, while they have Colt, they've said McCoy is their guy, you could definitely picture them maybe trading up and
Case Keenum now too, though.
Oh, that's a good point. I stand corrected then. So I guess just maybe Miami.
Well, yeah, but,
I don't know.
But they got Case Keenum at a reasonable price. They can still go get a young QB. That's a fascinating part of it. They just might have set themselves up to have somebody jump up and they could trade back. And so that's a very good call there. I think that certainly could be in play for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Again, 904-662-9901 if you want to jump in on the phone lines. What did I say, 662?
Yeah.
Instead of 362?
Yeah, 904-362-9901.
Oh, yeah, and I should probably put that back in the whiteboard because you told me the wrong number, Brett.
Typo.
All right, so we're going 362. Put it back on the whiteboard.
I thought
whiteboard,
I heard you.
Take two.
I thought I heard you say it wrong earlier, and I was like, maybe I just heard him wrong.
904-362-9901.
362. My bad. I typed 662 and then was reading it. Let me delete that post.
People are getting some different numbers.
By the way, I'm sidetracked. I knocked over the camera. Sorry about that. Because I got the allergies coming, so I had to go get a Kleenex or two out here at the Players' Championship. But
while you're changing the number, Brent, you want me to do stay in your lane quick?
Well, yeah, you got a little stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll get
I was ready to cancel everything. See, I'm a breaking news guy. I just push everything. It's like hurricane coverage.
Oh no, I'm
shove
just
everything. But if you've got a stay in your lane,
I do have a stay in your lane to pass some time quick. So stay in your lane. Cruise control. With less than 10 minutes into the EFL Championship match between Aston Villa and Birmingham City, a Birmingham supporter ran onto the pitch, also known as the field, obviously, and charged the captain of Aston Villa, Jack Grealish, and landed a punch that hit him in the side of the player's head. Now, why is this cruise control? Because on top of the controversy, on top of the chaos that ensued, what happened after, Jack Grealish scored the game-winning goal to win the game for his team. Coming back from someone hopping the fences, obviously, and punching you in the face. What a way to cap off a crazy game. To the fan that did that, what were you thinking? Obviously, you're going to probably get banned for life and going to spend some time in prison. If I'm not, they take soccer pretty serious over there, Brent.
14 days.
Okay. Thank you, Q. It's 14 days. He's in jail for 14 days?
Yeah, I just saw it pop up on the TV here.
All right, there you go. So 14 days. Enjoy doing your time, sir.
Well, and by the way, didn't the Grealish guy, he ended up scoring the game winner?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, you did say that?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
no, you're good, man.
I'm fixing the phone call.
You go and fix that phone. And speaking of pumping your brakes, pump your brakes has to go to the owner of the New York Knicks, James Dolan. Was walking towards the tunnel after the game when a fan shouted for him to sell the team. Well, I guess he did what any entitled billionaire would do, and he motioned for the heckler to come over, and then he told him to enjoy the game from watching it at his home because he's banned from the New York Knicks arena, Madison Square Garden. And then the Knicks also issued a statement saying that our policy is and will continue to be that if you are disrespectful to anyone in our venues, we will ask you not return. Hey, New York Knicks. hey, James Dolan, let's pump the brakes just a little bit. It wasn't like the guy threatened your family. He literally just said sell the team. If that's going to get underneath your skin, I mean, I can't imagine if someone really heckles you what's going to happen. And Knicks, it's New York City, man. Those fans are pretty intense. And, hey, guess what? James Dolan, you probably did that guy a favor by banning him from Madison Square Garden because no one wants to watch the Knicks anyways. You shouldn't be throwing away your fans. You shouldn't be kicking people out. The guy still paid money. Just take the criticism and move on. Just ignore it. Players got to do it all the time. It's not that hard.
Yeah, well, disrespectful to the fans is their product on the court for the last decade.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
Nicely done, Brent.
Simple as that. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
Pump the brakes. By the way, did you see the one soccer shot that in the snow that stopped short of the goal line?
Yeah.
Wasn't that awesome?
Yeah. Isn't it? Soccer should not be played in the snow.
It was like the batteries ran out on the soccer ball. You know, it was like something just died.
Yeah.
That was pretty wild. A big story, of course, Nick Foles and the Jacksonville Jaguars, 904-362-9901. We got a caller right now. Let's go to the lines. I don't know who it is, so it's DJ. What's up, DJ?
What's going on, fellas? Hey, I'm not overly excited. This notion that Foles is the savior because of Blake. Let me ask you a question. If Shad Khan said that this, I think the Shad Khan has an impact on this because I don't think if Tom Coughlin had 2 years, I think he would have drafted a quarterback because Shad Khan said this, you can't have this route no more, and it put pressure on Coughlin. They had to do the Foles deal. What you guys think about that instead of drafting a quarterback like most teams do? Your franchise quarterbacks are drafted, right?
Yeah, most of them are. Most of them are. I just gave the stat, though. I mean, Tom Coughlin has not done that. Now, a lot of it because of Eli Manning and because of the situation in Jacksonville, they were an expansion franchise. But he has not drafted a lot of first and second round quarterbacks in his career. Just one. Eli Manning's the only one to show for it. So that's a fascinating stat to me. And, I mean, you don't get a lot of opportunities in the first and second round to do that. And free agency certainly is an avenue for these guys. I don't know if I disagree with you, DJ. I think you're right. If they had just signed a 3-year deal and they could go after Haskins and be patient, I think they would. I don't know if it's just about their jobs, though, because what you have to do is you have to look at this defense. You have to look at Leonard Fournette. You have to look at signing Andrew Norwell, and you've got Brandon Linder under contract, and you have Marquise Lee under contract, and D.D. Westbrook's on the rise. I think you have to take all of that in consideration and say, well, we're not building to try to win 3 years down the road. We were just in the AFC Championship game 2 years ago with a very similar team. Let's try to build back to that.
Well, and your point, too, of, teams usually draft a quarterback and go from there. I mean, listen, the Saints got Drew Brees from free agency. The Eagles were led to a Super Bowl with a free agent, obviously Nick Foles, who we have now. So it's not like it's out of the realm of possibilities where a free agent can't lead a team to a Super Bowl either.
I agree with that. But what I'm saying is the pressure of Shad Khan putting on these guys. If the Jaguars would have went 8-8 last year instead of the record, I would think they would have drafted Haskins or somebody. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
get what you're saying, DJ. Appreciate the call. Thanks for checking in on the Nick Foles front. But there's one answer we don't have in all of this, and this is genuine. We don't know this. We can debate what we know or think and what the motivation behind it is. DJ might be exactly right. And we've all kind of said it from the outside looking in. They got to win. They got to win right now. What are you going to do to win right now? But really, how do they feel stacking Nick Foles against Dwayne Haskins and Kyler Murray? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Forget about win now and the future. Do they think Dwayne Haskins is that good? And people are going to evaluate that differently. Right? I mean, we see it already. I mean, we see scouts that aren't necessarily with teams, whether it's a Jeremiah or an analyst. I don't know if it's McShay, Kuiper, take your guys. But everybody has a different view on them, right? Everybody's got positives and negatives. Well, this organization might say, you know what? Nick Foles is just as good as those guys, and we can get him right now, and he's got experience, and let's go do this thing.
And you know what, Brent? You can cling to that narrative. I'm going to cling to the narrative, yes, that there is pressure on the coaching staff. There is pressure from Con because, listen, 2017, the Jaguars go 10-6. They go to the AFC Championship game, and they were a play away from going to the Super Bowl. Okay? Last season, They go 5-11. It was a horrible season. It was abysmal. There were problems all over the field. So it's not just a Shad Khan thing putting pressure. Any owner, any franchise should have pressure on them from going to the AFC Championship game and then going 5-11 the next season. Any team would have pressure on them. So it's not just a Shad Khan thing putting pressure on. It's not a Tom Coughlin thing putting pressure on. That's just the way the game works, man.
But I think DJ's point is, are you shaping the future of the organization based on your job and your job security? And that's a fair question. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were, again, if I give the example of, hey, we just got Tom Coughlin, Doug Marrone, and Dave Caldwell in here. We just signed him to a 4-year deal. What would they pick, Haskins or Foles? That's the question I'd like answered. And then DJ might be right. If they pick Haskins, they'll be like, yeah, we got to build for the next 3-4 years. There's no pressure for us to win.
Mm-hmm.
But all that given what you just said, the fact that there is history, AFC Championship, 5 minutes from the Super Bowl, miserable year last year, a lot of pressure on these guys. Some people thought they might be fired, should be fired. If they don't win this year, they might be fired. Well, does that alter what you think? We heard Doug Marrone at the Combine. He was clear as day saying, I want a guy that's played before. I mean, he said, I want a guy with experience. I want a guy that knows an offense. Well, he hires John DeFilippo, and the match was made, right? I mean, exactly what Doug Marrone. The only thing that Doug Marrone basically told us they were getting Nick Foles. The only reason why you couldn't fully believe it is because you're not sure if Doug Marrone is pushing the buttons or has an influence on that. It seems like it's Coughlin and Caldwell that make all those personnel kind of moves. But I thought Doug Marrone back at the Combine basically said, hey, yeah, I want Nick Foles, and I'm pushing for Nick Foles. Mm-hmm. And, well, if that was the case, he got Nick Foles. I think Chris is on the line right now. What's up, Chris?
Hey, Brent, how you doing?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. Hey, I just got a question about this Foles situation. I just think we're overhyping this quarterback situation because with the offensive line that we have, it seems to me like we could bring in Tom Brady as our quarterback, Drew Brees as our backup, Aaron Rodgers as our third string, and this team still ain't going to the playoffs until we build a stellar offensive lineman. And it just seems like we're just getting a little crazy with this quarterback situation.
Yeah.
And I was just seeing what you think about that.
Yeah, I think, thanks, Chris. Appreciate the call. I mean, people are going to get crazy with the quarterback situation. It's the quarterback. It's the most important position in sports,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that. So I have said to that point, what have we talked about the last couple of weeks? And that in part has been, listen, if you want Nick Foles, fine. If you want Dwayne Haskins, fine. If you want Teddy Bridgewater, fine. I almost don't. I felt like these last couple months we're talking too much about the quarterback, Chris, to your point. Because if you don't put things around them, and a lot of people believe offensive line, I don't believe as heavily on the offensive line as a lot of folks do. You could ask 100 people in Jacksonville, and I think 65 would say we need more help on the offensive line. I'd go there first. I don't agree with that. I think we need more help from a playmaking standpoint, no matter who the quarterback is. No matter if it was Foles, Bridgewater, Haskins, Murray, Joe Montana. I think you need more weapons on offense, and right now I see Leonard Fournette, and I'll give D.D. Westbrook the nod and even him as a weapon. But I don't think he's a weapon people plan for or game plan for. So, again, to that point, yeah, do we get too excited about a quarterback? Do we overplay this quarterback spot? To a degree. But you still have to have a guy to be able, to a degree, do we overplay it? Yes. Here's why. Blake Bortles helped take this team to the AFC Championship game, and everybody thinks the guy stinks. So, yeah, we do overplay the quarterback position sometimes too much. But in this instance, we've overplayed it not because of Nick Foles or not because this team needs an upgrade at quarterback. We've overplayed it because there's not enough playmakers, in my view. We need to talk just as much about that, and now what did they do in free agency and the draft to help Nick Foles out from a playmaking standpoint to make this offense at least appear a bit scary.
And listen, yes, the offensive line needs to be retooled and it needs to be reworked, but if you look back to 2011, Maurice Jones-Drew had the rushing title. He was the leading rusher in the NFL, and we had one of the best offensive lines back when I played in 2011 with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Do you know how many games we won that season? 5. So having a good offensive line isn't everything. I mean, obviously it's a huge part, but the quarterback and the offensive line, it works together. And it's like I said, if you can take Maurice Jones-Drew, give him the most yards in the NFL, only win 5 games, that's telling you that it's not just an offensive line thing. You also need a quarterback. You also need wide receivers as weapons. And that's what the Jaguars need right now.
Absolutely. That's what they need. 904-362-9901 is the number. 904-362-9901. Kuz.
Yo, I was actually about to say something to you, Brent. I've got beef with Nick Foles right now.
Why?
He's been teasing everybody on Instagram. He posted this morning about how there's a huge announcement, and it's this photo of him, and then it's him announcing that he partnered with Lululemon.
Oh, that's who he's
played it up.
That's the sponsorship.
Yeah.
he's
That's
who
with?
it is, yeah.
Brent, you didn't say that, man. He's getting that Lululemon money?
Yeah, you're getting that Lululemon
What
money.
is Lululemon? Excuse me, sir?
Oh. Brent.
I mean, imagine, like, I don't know what their fabric's made out of. Like, I feel like they capture angels and, like, they cut their hair and then, like, they thread the angel hair in the fabric because it is some of the most comfortable like tights and stuff that you're ever going to wear. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not paying $90 for a pair of leggings or a shirt, but it's comfortable.
Wow, there you go. Hey, do you want Adam Humphries? Titans are expected to sign him to a $36 million deal, it looks like. Also reports that Blake Bortles is going to get released by the Jaguars. Well, there's a shocker. I mean, I think that one goes without saying. Do we even have to report that Blake Bortles is going to get let go? I mean, it's foregone conclusion, isn't it?
I think so.
Pretty much. The big story, Nick Foles is going to Jacksonville for $88 million, $22 million per year, and $50 million guaranteed, according to Adam Schefter. The Jaguars will not confirm any of this until Wednesday at 4 o'clock. That's when they'll do that. And there's a lot happening on a Monday in the NFL. So we get a call in if you want, 904-362-9901. Before we go in a couple of minutes, we're live at the Players' Championship. Our coverage all week long at TPC Sawgrass. Brought to you by the law offices of John Phillips. And we're going to have a lot of fun out here at the Players. And obviously, we knew we'd have football news to talk about left and right. I'm a little surprised. I will say I'm a little surprised this came to fruition as early as it did. I thought it would be later tonight, maybe even early tomorrow. I thought there would be some negotiating that would take a little longer than it did in this. This one, bam, it was done, which also lends to the idea that, okay, they did do this during the illegal tampering.
There's some tampering going on?
Yeah, I mean, if the NFL wanted to investigate the Jags, and I don't know how you find out, and probably there's a way to keep it. But
you going to snitch now on us, bro? You going to snitch on the Jaguars?
I mean, how do you hammer out a $50 million deal?
On them?
$50 million deal, $88 million over 4 years in like 4 hours. Was it that simple? Like, you're at the Jags, you didn't say, well, we'd like to save $8 million here or there, and there wasn't a back and forth?
Oh, I would make the worst GM ever, man. Like, Brent, you know how I get, man. I want to save every single penny I got. You've seen my shoes. So if I was the GM, oh yeah, I'm saving every single penny that I can.
So, do we hear anything else now over the next few days? My opinion is no. I don't think we're going to get
from like
story.
Another player.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get. Jesse James went to the Lions, I think.
Yep.
That was one I thought we would hear.
Golden Tate is intriguing. A
little
bit.
And Deshaun Jackson, by the way, traded back to the Philadelphia Eagles from the Tampa Bay Bucks. So
now
there's a lot happening today.
Yeah.
But I think those guys go. You know, I think again, I believe Golden Tate is on the A- to B+ list, and so I think it will take a little bit longer for something.
I mean, from a talent perspective, I definitely put him in the A- category, even maybe an A, as far as what the talent right now in free agency shows for receiver. At the same time, though, I'm not sure if Golden Tate is definitely the savior for Jacksonville when it comes to being that big playmaker receiver. He's kind of more of, I feel like, especially when he's in Detroit, he was kind of the gadget guy. You know, he ran the slants and things like that. But I feel like we have guys that can do that, so we shall see.
All right. Hey, make sure you check out ESPN690.com for Bush Live and Our Lady Peace concert coming to Daly's Place. The show is August 18th, but to register, you can go to the contest page on ESPN690.com and win tickets to the Bush Live and Our Lady Peace concert coming to Daly's Place in the middle of August. That will be during training camp, by the way. That will be like preseason game number 2. Nick Foles plays a quarter of action for the Jacksonville Jaguars. What does this offense look like? Nick Foles headed to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The story of the day here in Jacksonville. Simple as that. For Coos,
in Austin Lane. I'm Brent Martineau. We're live at TPC Sawgrass, the Players' Championship, all week long, and that includes tomorrow. We're going to talk on TV about Nick Foles. Join me on CBS 47 in like 2 minutes. Have a good night, everybody.
I love Nick Foles.
You know you love the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
We've got limited bathrooms here in the building, and sometimes on occasion, if they have a room empty, I'm allowed to go in between shows and use a bathroom to freshen up. I hear people coming in, and I'm just yelling, "Wait a minute!" But my plan gets exposed when I hear, "Hey, Dan Le Batard!"
The Dan Le Batard Show, now 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPNRadio.com.
Whether you're buying a new or pre-owned vehicle, your experience should never be anything less than exceptional.